Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Good morning from Allen Park. It's July 23rd, 2023. I'm Gabrielle D. Phillips, your Woodward Sports Network Lions beat reporter, here for all of your coverage through training camp this season. The Lions prepare through the preseason to take on the Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs, in the first game of the NFL 2023 season.
I can't wait to get the pads on against other dudes, you know. You go up against these same guys a million times, and by the end of camp, you're pretty, you know, you're over it. You know, you want to go against someone else. So I can't wait till week one, man. That's what I got my eyes set on.
Keep an eye out for J-Mo during this training camp, as his development with this team during this period is crucial before his suspension. And how will the development of the secondary look as we go into training camp? Another key player to look out for is Mims, as he was recently added to the roster with the trade with the Jets.
Well, he's a guy that's got tools, you know. He's a big receiver, and he's got speed, he's got length. And, you know, kind of relative to, hey, you're looking at what do you want to work with, it was, you know, he's got the ability, and let's see if we can do something. Let's see if change of scenery helps this guy.
And ladies and gentlemen, I think we've settled on our Dan Campbell motivational line of the season. Take a listen to this message as we head into training camp.
Talent with character and chemistry can overcome adversity, and I believe that's what Brad and I have built here.
That's day one. Plenty of more to come from training camp down at Allen Park. I'm Gabrielle D. Phillips with Woodward Sports Network.
Woo! Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. It is Monday, July 24th, and there you have it. That was Gabby from Allen Park. She'll still be down there today, so she will be not here with us today, but she'll be back soon enough. You got your host, as always, Jeff Iafrate, alongside me, Sam Flannel. In the booth, we got JV per usual. JV's ready to cook up today. What kind of merch you got on? Is that Aiden Billie Jean?
Oh, yes, the Aiden Billie Jean shirt, everybody.
Yeah, he's swagged out. He's ready to go. We got Lucas Klotz in the booth. He's fired up. We got the whole crew here today, and we thank you for joining us as you enter. Don't forget, hit the like button. We'll start the show off in a good way. If you're not subscribed already, we just hit 45,000 subscribers. That's a W.
Clap it up, fellas.
Appreciate all you guys, man. Seriously, we just hit 45,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. If you can't watch the show live, you can go back and re-listen. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you listen to. And again, if you're on the website, don't forget to check out our latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise, which is all available on woodwardsports.com as well. But to start off the show, boys and girls, it's Lions training. And we're about a week and a half away from preseason. I can't wait. I'm excited. Yeah, it's early August, so we're creeping up there. Yes, we're creeping. Almost 2 weeks, so it's exciting. And Dan Campbell, per usual, he's getting with the boys. He's doing up-downs. I mean, look at this man, Lucas. Pull it up for me. This is how you set the tone at training camp right here. Motor City Dan Campbell, per usual. Getting it in, and like he does every training camp. And the most exciting thing about training camp,
I want to go back because I'm going to replay this. Let's look at Broderick Martin's up downs right here. Hold on, you ready? Oh boy! Let me get a replay. Hold on.
What was Broderick?
Look, big boy right there. Watch him towards the end. You can tell he's like, oh, I don't know about this. I think that's Broderick at least.
Yeah.
Wait for it. Like right here, he goes, I don't
one too many up downs right there.
That's a big boy. That's a big boy right there.
Moving.
Yeah, and speaking of Broderick Martin, he's working with the second team, so he's getting his reps. Levi Ozarike is available, and he's participating in training camp. We'll be talking about him in a little bit here to break him down. Emmanuel Mosley is on the PUP list. He's out currently, but he should be ready for week one. If not, that'll be interesting. But PUP, Hendon Hooker, Marvin Jones on the also on the non-football injury list, so they're not participating, but I'm sure will eventually be participating. We know with Hendon Hooker, though, he's coming off that ACL, so take as much time as you need, Hendon. But Marvin Jones, currently not here, but he'll be back. But it is exciting. I mean, training camp, you get to see the progression of the rookies. Brian Branch was working in with the starters, which is significant. He was on the field at the same time as C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Yeah, and we talked a little bit about this before the show, Lucas. Like, he's going to make a big impact this year.
100%. I don't expect Brian Branch to be on the field 75% of the time. That there's genuinely Lions fans out there that think Brian Branch is strictly going to redshirt this year and like barely sniff the field. And if that's the case, and I don't think this is the case, Brad Holmes is a moron for drafting this dude in the second round for no reason. Brian Branch is going to find his way onto the field, even if Kirby, CJ, or Tracy are on the field, because Aaron Glenn runs a dynamic defense. He runs a lot of man-to-man press coverage, and you send the house. And when you send the house, you want to have more DBs on the field that make you more athletic, so you can kind of make up for if the quarterback beats the blitz. And that's exactly what Brian Branch is going to be perfect for with this defense, and that he's going to play this year.
And on top of that, too, they re-signed Justin Jackson. They released running back Greg Bell. That running back 3 position, and I know it's not a significant position. It is when you have injuries, but that's going to be a battle because you already have David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, but now you got that third running back, the Muhammad Ibrahims of the world. You have Craig Reynolds, Justin Jackson. That's what training camp's for. It's the battles. It's building chemistry as well. The secondary, very new secondary. Dan's been talking about that, and those guys needing to gel together, but also something Dan's and a lot of players have been talking about, which we'll get into later in the show. We have 2 segments on it as well, is the hype, the Lions hype. And Dan, Aiden, everybody, Tracy Walker, all had something to say about the hype around the Detroit Lions and trying to quiet down the noise a little bit. And we'll talk about that, our personal beliefs on it. And are you opposed to denying the hype, or are you all for, hey, you got to embrace it. You know where you are as a franchise. We'll get all that later in the show. But Sam Flannel, training camp, what are you excited about the most?
Oh, man, I can't choose just one. I'll tell you what, there is definitely an excitement in the air, even in this office, even in this room, and it just happens to be because training camp is underway. We can feel football. I know it's something that seems like it's so far away, but now when you put it into context that preseason is just around the corner, I cannot contain my excitement at this point.
I want it. I
I could not, I could not explain it any better than that. And yeah, you talk about some of the positional battles, having a guy like Levi Onwuzurike back and playing, Brian Branch getting some snaps in the training camp. That's an interesting angle too, Lucas. When you talk about Brian Branch and the Detroit Lions, that is something I am very, very excited about. And the reason why Brian Branch is going to get a lot of playing time is when you are as versatile as he is. He can play corner, he can play safety, he can cover, he can blitz. You look at his skill set at Alabama. He had 90 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 2 interceptions last year. So that is a guy that I think will see significant playing time right away. You look at the running back 3 battle, as you mentioned. I know the running back 3, you say, is that really that significant? But Justin Jackson made a couple plays last year. Craig Reynolds is a guy who has had a 100-yard game in the NFL before. So there is just so much to talk about and so much to dissect. I know we'll get into a lot of it later. But you know what this feels like, guys? This feels like the most hype Lions season in history, and we are here at Woodward Sports covering it. It is going to be a whirlwind. It is going to be a wild ride, and I cannot wait for all of you guys in the chat to join us, starting with today, all throughout the season. I'm giddy right now. I don't know if I ever felt like this.
Josh
Josh Giddey.
He's Josh Giddey. And it's funny. We literally started from the bottom. We started this network. The Lions were. It was rough, to say the least. That was right before Dan was hired, and then Dan, obviously, his first season, figuring out what he had initially and figuring out literally everything out, essentially. You win 3 games. You draft Penei Sewell the following year, or excuse me, the year prior, but then you draft Aiden Hutchinson after that 3-win season. And things are looking up. You're at a point now where you're one of the better teams in the NFC. You're the favorite to win your division. And training camp just has a different feel around it. That's why when you, if anyone out there tried to buy tickets or get tickets, excuse me, for training camp, you had about 3,000 in front of you. Like, that shows you how excited that people in Detroit are. But you know who else is excited for training camp as always? And we showed the video earlier, Dan Campbell. And can you pull up his comments? Because this is the most Dan Campbell thing you could say ever. Like, his feelings about training camp. And we posted this on Woodward Sports, all social media, so you can check that out. He says, the brotherhood, being around the guys, watching them sweat, and grind and bleed and laugh and cry a little bit. I really appreciate that about the game. Like, that's the most...
Man loves ball.
Yeah.
Man loves him some football.
Yeah, that's the most, he knows ball statement ever. Like, Dan, he's passionate, man. He loves the game. And in this position, too, for all the hype that's surrounding the Detroit Lions, we have to figure out if Dan is that guy, because he showed a lot of promise last year, 8-2 down the stretch. We get all of that. But in a season where there's so much expectations, maybe not Super Bowl. I've heard it, though. Super Bowl, I was wronged for saying they're not quite on the level of the Eagles and 49ers. Everyone came after me for that.
They did.
But I'm curious to see how Dan, and you already kind of saw it already, but a sense of how he handles this hype with such a young team. Yeah. And I think so far he's doing a great job, to be honest with you.
So far he's doing a great job, but at the same time, like you mentioned, this is the first time he's really coaching with expectations in his career. Expectations to win a division, expectations to win a playoff game, and for some folks, expectations to even get to and maybe win a Super Bowl this year. I think that's a little bit too lofty, but still, I understand where those people are coming from. Can Dan Campbell coach with expectations? I would probably lean towards yes, because he did show me a lot at the end of last year and how the team didn't quit under him. He seemed to galvanize his team to have a fantastic start, which they did. But at the end of the day, he's still kind of an unknown as a coach. But so far, I would say the early returns are positive, especially what he walked into, what they did his first year, what they did his second year. This is the next progression. Take that leap, get him to the playoffs, win a playoff game. I think that they're going to do that. But yeah, this is the first time there are actual real expectations to win something tangible.
And also, speaking of training camp and the storylines that come out of training camp, a lot of the conversation, and we're going to have this conversation today, is quarterbacks, who's under the most pressure. And me and Sam formed a top 5 list, similar to what you guys saw last week with top 5 coaches under pressure. We're doing the addition today, top 5 quarterbacks under pressure for 2023. Does it feature Jared Goff? You guys are going to have to wait and find out. We're doing that segment around 8:45, 9 o'clock. We're going to squeeze that in. We're going to have 2 segments, and I want everybody to react to our list and see, hey, does it make sense? Do you like it? Do you not? Can't wait to do that. It's going to be really exciting. But regardless, I want to get to some people in the chat now chiming in. Brandon has something to say. He says, Campbell just said expectations for this year are to do more than limp into the playoffs. Well, he's right. And again, that's the part I do appreciate about Dan, is he's not completely naive. Like, he understands where they stand, but you can't go to players and, because, again, Dan's trying to instill that work hard, forget what you did last year. I get all of that. You don't want guys to get too big for their britches or their ego to get too big, and then you get slapped in the face week 1 and 2, because those are arguably the 2 hardest games. So you want to keep the team humble, at least at this point. So I agree with that statement as well. Eduardo says, just make it to the divisional round. Eduardo, you know how I feel. I'm with you. You win a playoff game. And that's my expectations, but we shall see. Let's see. Khalil says these Lions are the go-to-work Lions. Well, you got to win a championship, and then we can call them that. But you're right, though. At least the motto, it's very similar.
Jeff, you sound scared.
Maybe I am. And we're going to talk about that later in the show. And I got some things to get off my chest, and maybe you guys can help me feel better. Yeah, D-Mac. D-Mac would be the guy to talk to right now, because he's fully stoked and not scared. Sports on Air says, well, buckle up, Woodward Sports. Bandwagon fans are coming when the Lions get going. That is facts. And Lucian says they are told to downplay the hype because they haven't proven anything. Yeah, that's also facts. Jordan chimes in. He says, everybody is freaking out about Jones and Mosley. Jones isn't actually hurt. He is a veteran, and Mosley will be good to go by preseason. Listen, best case scenario, you get Emmanuel Mosley back 100%. And Dan even said it isn't a setback, but we're just giving him a rest. So I'm sure those guys will be fine, especially Marvin Jones. He's a veteran. He'll be back in action. I ain't worried about him. Brandon says Mosley by the end of the week. Great news. Yeah, he'll be all right. I ain't worried about it. I'll tell you what. We'll go to break when we get back. I want to have the Levi Onwuzurike discussion because he is officially active for training camp, and he was out all last season with a back injury, and a lot of people speculated he could retire. Like, not that it came from anyone Detroit Lions related. This is just, I've heard this among people. Will he retire? Is it that bad of a back injury? Well, he's back. No pun intended. And we're going to talk about Levi Onwuzurike next segment. But before we do that, we got to hear from our friends from Randy Wise, Lucas. Could you tell them about him?
No Gabby Day, so I'm doing the read. How would you like to see famous athletes like Jim Harbaugh, Darren McCarty, and Braylon Edwards golf against average Joes just like us? Well, thanks to Randy Wise Automotive and Woodward Sports, you'll be able to do just that. It's Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour. Make the wise choice and pay attention to Woodward Sports for more info soon. cool. Let me do this. Now we're good.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hot cakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. It's a Lions training camp team show today, and probably will be for the foreseeable future. Football season is just upon us, and we're excited for it. I got my Lions hat right here. We're ready to go, and we're thrilled up. It's Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz. Gabby's out. She's at Allen Park today. But I wanted to get into the Levi Onwuzurike discussion because he is officially back. And when he came out, Sam, he was drafted ahead of Aleem McNeil. People forget that. He was a highly ranked or higher ranked prospect over Aleem McNeil. And I guess you could say you look at it like, hey, you get essentially a free second-round pick that just kind of drops on the roster this year, missed entire last season. But even in his rookie year, 16 games, had a sack, he was in the rotation, he was solid. But again, we didn't really get to see him develop in his second year like Aleem McNeil did last season. What are your expectations for Levi Onwuzurike? Is he seriously somebody that can crack the rotation and be a big part of this defensive line, or you think at the very least he'll just be a depth piece?
The Levi Onwuzurike conversation is an interesting one because, and I'm going to take it back to Brad Holmes, because Brad Holmes, I'm going to analogize him and all NFL GMs to a single guy. So one of the things you learn as a single guy, one of the things that you're told is they can't all be 10s. And when it comes to Brad Holmes, Levi Onwuzurike so far has been the perfect example of that, because Brad Holmes, if he were a single guy, he has picked a hell of a lot of 10s. I mean, you look at 2021 alone. Penei Sewell, 7th overall pick, top 10 tackle in the NFL, I would say at worst. And then you look at Aleem McNeil, 3rd round pick, rotational defensive tackle, the leader of that unit. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4th round pick, obviously a home run of all home run picks, top 10 wide receiver in the NFL as a 4th round pick. And then you go to 2022, Aiden Hutchinson, 2nd overall pick, leads all rookies in sacks, great pick. 3rd round pick, Kirby Joseph, forces 6 turnovers as a 3rd round pick. Unbelievable. And then you look at the duo of 6th round picks in Malcolm Rodriguez and James Houston, obviously phenomenal. James Houston 2nd among all rookies in sacks, 8 sacks in 7 games, absurd. Malcolm Rodriguez is an all-rookie linebacker. And then if you even want to throw in Jamison Williams and Josh Pascal, injury-plagued seasons but showed a ton of promise. And then, of course, there's one Levi Onwuzurike, who's looked like the one black mark on Brad Holmes' resume. But like I said before, they can't all be 10s. Right. Levi Onwuzurike had what I would call a very disappointing rookie year. When you look at his advanced metrics, he was terrible against the run. He actually played, but he wasn't very good. And in 2022, he missed with a back injury. He had back surgery, which can be degenerative. It could be detrimental to a player's entire career. But maybe Levi Onwuzurike is the reclamation project. Maybe Levi Onwuzurike has a glow up and actually turns into something for the Detroit Lions, because all he really has to do at this point, on a position that I would say is one of the Lions' weaker positions, I don't think Levi Onwuzurike was really accounted for. But when you look at all that they have in terms of depth, their defensive line room, they've got Aleem McNeil, Isaiah Buggs, John Kaminsky, Broderick Martin, Christian Covington, and then maybe a Levi Onwuzurike, who, as you said, was at one point a much better prospect than Aleem McNeil. If he just becomes a rotational piece, if he just makes a couple of plays, if he's just a body in there to be just somebody who can defend the run and maybe get a sack or two and provide just a little bit of interior pressure, this could actually do wonders for this defense. I don't know if Levi Onwuzurike is ever going to be worthy of being a second-round pick, but at the same time, at this point, you don't need him to be that. He's just kind of a free rotational piece on your interior defensive line, and that is what I expect from him. I'm not expecting him to be a star. I'm not expecting him to be somebody who starts and plays every single game, but he doesn't have to be that at this point.
Right, especially with all the depth the Lions have right now. And again, I hate bringing this up because, trust me, even though I wanted this player, this is where we're at. You didn't address the interior defensive line in the draft, at least early. So, of course, it's going to be one of your biggest question marks on this roster currently. It's interior defensive line. And there's a lot of interesting guys there, guys that you have hope for. Josh Pascal can move inside. Aleem McNeil lost a ton of weight, a lower percentage of body fat. What does he look like this season? You have Levi Onwuzurike coming back. Obviously, you just mentioned it. Bugs, who played last year and showed he could be solid. They just drafted Broderick Martin as well. So regardless, there's guys that you like, but nobody is really standing out from the rest. Like that's what you're looking forward to seeing this year. Is who will it be? Will Aleem McNeil solidify himself as the dude, or will Levi Onwuzurike or Josh Pascal show enough promise? Like that's, and you could say it's the biggest question mark. I think it'll figure itself out because I still like the talent they have inside. You just mentioned John Kaminsky, who was solid last year. But Brad, not drafting Jalen Carter showed me he's comfortable with who he has. Now the question is, who does he have? And this season, I think, is about figuring that out. And maybe Levi Onwuzurike can crack that rotation and be solid. Because, again, Levi is similar to Aleem McNeil. His production won't always be statistically based. Aleem McNeil, if he gets a couple sacks a year, some tackles for loss, like you're looking at Aleem McNeil and his value in the run game, but not having another body like a Levi Onwuzurike, I think, kind of cost them when you get into games like Carolina where they rush for 350 against you. You need more bodies up front. So maybe Broderick Martin can be that guy. Maybe Levi Onwuzurike can be that guy. But I do have hope he could still be solid. But the question is which one of the guys in that defensive line rotation kind of rises to the cream of the crop, Lucas. And I don't know who it will be. I think I have the most confidence right now besides Aleem McNeil. I like Josh Pascal a lot. And that's probably the guy I'm leaning towards.
You like Pascal?
I do.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but why? Just because we haven't seen much, but like,
because
where's the confidence coming from?
Well, the leadership traits he has coming out of Kentucky. He was a captain, but also I'm pretty sure he led or was up there in the SEC in tackles for loss. So he's a guy that could play the edge. He could play inside. You can move him around. And when he did play last year, didn't play a lot. He was injured. But when he did play, he was solid. So I'm hoping this season, playing with Aiden, James Houston now, these guys, he'll be a piece. Because I'm looking at guys you can move in the middle, and Josh Pascal is one of those guys.
No, he definitely is. And I'm not saying this guy's necessarily going to be a star, but I think John Kaminsky's a guy that's going to take another step that people are going to take for granted. And I don't think, like you said, kind of with the statistics, I don't think it'll really show on there. But when John Kaminsky did for the Lions run defense last year, especially now the fact that we have Jack Campbell, another year of this D-line with like Derek Barnes and Alex Anzalone, another year to mesh, like you said, along with the other pieces, I think the guy that's kind of going to be the unsung hero is going to be John Kaminsky. I really do like Broderick Martin a lot. I think once probably like week 8, week 9, where he really starts to get a feel for the speed of the game, he'll make an impact. I still like Isaiah Buggs a lot. I still like all these players a lot. I just think what needed to happen, we needed a true field general at the linebacker position who was athletic enough to cover tight ends and play and run through every gap that you need to do, fill every gap. I think it all comes down to Jack Campbell's performance to see really like the improvement of this defense, and Derek Barnes. I expect a big year from Derek Barnes.
What about you, JB? Levi Onwuzurike, what kind of hope you still got for him to be a solid rotational piece for the Lions?
Well, I just want to start off by playing this little sound bite of him when he walked back into the training facilities at Allen Park.
I'm back, bitches!
Actual footage from Levi Onwuzurike. Good find, JB.
Actually, sound clip. I can't believe that, but I think Levi will be a solid rotational piece. As Flannel said, like you already have Aleem McNeil and Buggs there, quality, good starters for you. And he's coming off that back injury as well, too. You don't want to push him as much. I know Dan's going to ease him back into this defense as much as they can, get him as many reps as they can, but they don't want to overdo it. Because as he said when he commented on the whole situation, just you can never be fully beyond 100%. All you can do is just manage this back injury, which he's done a pretty good job of, especially that first season. And now it's just, hey, you're coming off the surgery. So we're just going to ease you back in. We don't want to push you too much, but I think you'll be a solid rotational player in this this defense, I should say.
Yeah, that back injury is concerning. It is. Like, that's a significant back injury. Like Sam alluded to earlier, to his point. Like, that's the biggest concern. But again, the more depth you have, the more positive, because guys aren't going to be tired. You got a rotation. You got fresh defensive linemen coming in and out. Levi Onwuzurike isn't all you have. You have quite a few guys that could rotate in the middle, on the edges. But another thing to take away, too, and this is why I have hope for Levi still, Aaron Glenn, as much flack as he got last year, what he did with all the young defensive players, this team combined for the most sacks in Lions history with rookies. So don't tell me that Levi Onwuzurike, he'll have all the opportunity to succeed. It's up to him. And the other part you look at, too, at least with Levi, is he's going to be playing with more talent than he had when he first got here. I mean, now you got, it's like he missed an entire year. Boom, now you got Aiden and James Houston. Both now in their second year, so that's exciting. But you mentioned it earlier, the what they got out of guys drafted late, like what they got out of Houston, what they got out of Malcolm Rodriguez. Don't tell me a guy who was drafted just 2 years ago, 41 overall, 41st overall in the NFL draft, can't still show something. But we shall see. It's up to him, Sam. He's going to have all the tools to succeed with more talent around him.
But just imagine how big it would be for this defensive line if Levi Onwuzurike actually does show something, and even for Brad Holmes, because every single GM has a guy that they miss on. And so far with Brad Holmes, it appears to be Levi Onwuzurike. But what if he didn't actually miss? What if Levi Onwuzurike actually turns out to be pretty damn good? Like I said before, I don't expect him to ever live up to being a higher pick than Aleem McNeil, but at the same time, if Levi Onwuzurike can be healthy, I think this could be absolutely huge for this defensive line. And Lucas, you kind of mentioned it earlier. I think the keys to this defensive line being maybe hitting their ceiling, especially in the interior. One, I think Aleem McNeil has to clearly separate himself from the pack.
Yes.
And when you hear what he did this offseason with going down to 13% body fat while still maintaining the same weight.
We like that.
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing you can not like about that, because I think it'll make him more agile. I think it'll be able to make him have more stamina, be able to play more snaps,
stay healthier,
and to be able to get off blocks and actually provide more consistent interior pressure. And then you even mentioned John Kaminsky. You mentioned what John Kaminsky did against the run, but even more than that, he was third on the team in sacks last season with 4. And here's the thing. I don't know how much you want to take away from this, but John Kaminsky played in 14 games, and the Lions were 9-5 in them.
And with a club on his hand, too.
With the
Man
club
was
on his
doing
hand.
it one-handed.
He was one of the most valuable players on this defense, so much so that it was a big-time priority for the Lions to re-sign him, which they did. So if John Kaminsky, you mentioned John Kaminsky even taking a leap. If John Kaminsky and Aleem McNeil can take a leap, and then, of course, Buggs and Christian Covington can kind of be in the rotation, Broderick Martin has an okay rookie year, and Levi Onwuzurike gives you something, I think that's the makings of a pretty damn good interior defense. Not great, not elite, but they don't have to be great or elite. They just need to stop the run more consistently and provide more interior pressure. And I think those are locks this season, absolute locks.
Patrick Barker says, are we going to be able to see anything meaningful until the D-line practice, from the D-line practice until they get pads on? Yeah, I mean, that's where most of this stuff you look at it, and it means more. Right now, it's more for just guys to get into shape.
Yeah.
And to make sure that chemistry is being built on the field. That putting pads on is what matters. You're right, Patrick. But right now, you're just analyzing who's there, who's participating, and someone for like Levi Onwuzurike, who missed all last season with a back injury. It's significant that he's just there. He showed up. Hoofard, it says, depends on how the back surgery affects his play. If he ever gets close to 100%, he has the talent to have a shot. Yeah, I agree with that, 100%. Lucian says it's too far to say Brad missed. Dude has his rookie year, or had his rookie year, and then got injured. Well, to Sam's point, we don't really know yet. I think it's to be determined at this point for a second-round pick. You'd like to see him more, so to Sam's point. But if he comes out this season and has shown he's solid and can be a rotational player, I mean, maybe you can't say he missed, but again, to your point, Sam, Brad can't hit on every single pick. So if he just finds a rotational, a solid player, I think that'll be all right.
Well, and that's my point. It's more to marvel at what Brad Holmes has done, that he really only has one notable miss so far, and that is Levi Onwuzurike. And Levi Onwuzurike has a chance to change the narrative and become at least solid, because I agree, if Levi Onwuzurike can at least be a rotational defensive piece, how can you say that it's a miss, especially on a defense that presumably improves, on a team team that consistently wins, at least for the next couple of years, that would be incredible. So yeah, I guess when you look at individual play, how can you not call Levi Onwuzurike a miss? But he has the chance to change it all around. And I think at the absolute least, he is going to be a net positive on the team this year. Whether it's incremental or exponential, probably more likely incremental, it doesn't matter. Levi Onwuzurike being back is a great thing for the Detroit Lions.
I'll tell you what, I know who else could help you and be a benefit to your life, and that's SMA, because the sports marketing agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, this is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com for more information. We'll be right back right after the break to discuss the hype around the Detroit Lions.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
Think you can play some golf? How about beating a professional athlete? It's the Woodward Sports Thursday Night Golf League, live at 5 Iron Golf for 12 consecutive weeks, featuring famous courses from around the world, played on state-of-the-art TrackMan simulators. State-of-the-art TrackMan simulators in 5 Iron Golf's new 25,000 square foot facility in downtown Detroit. Can you beat Darren McCarty on hole number 12 at Augusta National?
Yes.
I highly doubt that, but that's okay. I would like to see all of you try. Hey, you guys can try. What about outperforming Braylon Edwards on hole number 8 at Pebble Beach? Do you have what it takes? If so, register for a chance to win a free foursome today. Just follow us on Twitter and Instagram before August 1st and direct message the word golf. It's 5 Iron Golf.
I think, as always, the thing that's going to worry you is the hype train. I mean, as with most coaches, this thing is just taken off and it's out of control right now. And that's fine as long as we stay focused on the job at hand and the work. I just keep going back to that. We got to put the work in and earn it.
The so-called hype train is I don't know, I think it's funny to me that, you go 9-8, you don't make the playoffs, and now you're all of a sudden a favorite. And it's, of course, we got good players, we got good coaches, we got a good team, but we ain't done anything. And we have a lot of work to do. And, Minnesota won 13 games last year. Green Bay's won the division a handful of times in the last handful of years. So, we've got some work to do to put, a stamp on who we want to be, and are nowhere near that yet, but are on our way.
I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't care, because at the end of the day, we still got to go out there and play, because the same people that's giving us the hype right now was the same people that was down on us last year and the years before. So for us, we just got to go out there and just prove everybody right, like I said, and just do our job.
It's kind of hard not to see it, even we got the TVs on in there and it just pops up, so you see it. And, I think it's smart if a lot of our guys, stay off of it, just because, it can get to your head a little bit. But I think we're doing a good job of keeping our mentality and keeping what we've been doing, especially even last year, and building off of it. So I think we're doing a good job with our mentality, and we keep that underdog mentality. We haven't won anything yet, so people, obviously there's a lot of expectations, but then again, I think we still feel like the underdogs.
There you have it. All the players and coaches talking about the hype surrounding the Detroit Lions, and we're going to get into it. We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, and Alex Westfall all joining you on this Monday morning. And it's crazy to be talking about preseason or preseason expectations for the Detroit Lions. And when you hear it from Dan Campbell, you hear it from Aiden, Tracy Walker, Jared Goff, all kind of tempering the expectations. Not that I think they don't think they can do what we all think they can do, But they obviously, for a team that just last season was one of the youngest teams in the NFL, I don't think the smart move, Sam Flannel, would be to approach this training camp like, yeah, we're them.
No.
We're that team to beat, which is fair.
No, that is 100% fair. And I think it's interesting, the three people that were interviewed first. You've got Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, and Tracy Walker. Why I bring those up is they were there. They were three of the most prominent figures on a team that went 3-13-1. You had Jared Goff, the quarterback, Dan Campbell, the coach, and Tracy Walker, who led the team in tackles that year. So they understand how bad it can get and how bad it started. And I think that is going to do wonders in humbling this team and keeping them hungry and keeping them with that underdog mentality. And even Aiden Hutchinson, you might say he was a rookie last year. All he knows is success. Au contraire, because remember how they started the year. 1-6. People were saying that Aiden Hutchinson is over pursuing. The defense was historically bad. And Aiden Hutchinson was brought to Detroit to help revitalize this defense. And at the beginning of the season, it wasn't looking so hot for Aiden or for the team. So he kind of understood that how it was a tale of two seasons. They understand where it could go, but I also think that they realize what this team can be and that it is much better than it was at the beginning. And even Tracy Walker, that's an interesting one too, because he never got to experience the playing winning football because he got hurt before they ever took off. So I think this is a team that can maintain the hunger, maintain the underdog mentality, because as Jared Goff says, as much as we hate to say it, as much as it pains me, the Detroit Lions in reality haven't won a thing yet. The Minnesota Vikings, as much as they were fraudulent dogs, won the division. As much as the Green Bay Packers, we don't like them and how much we take pleasure in ending Aaron Rodgers' career at Lambeau, they pretty much own the division. And even the Chicago Bears, as recently as 2018, they have a division title. The only thing that's missing is the Detroit Lions. This is the year where they have to do it. This is the year where I think they are going to do it. But as Jared Goff said, they haven't really won anything yet. They have to stay humble and stay hungry, because if a few things go wrong, it could crash and burn. I don't think it will, but there's always that possibility.
And I think it's interesting that Tracy Walker, and he got to experience the ending of that Matt Patricia regime. He's kind of seeing it from both sides. Even though he was hurt last season, he knows, at least in Aiden Hutchinson as well, a Michigan native. You don't think he knows about the Detroit Lions and what they had to go through? He even said when he was younger he was a fan of the Patriots. It was so bad. He jumped to the Patriots, which respect Tom Brady from Michigan. Apparently they embrace him after he leaves Michigan, but that's another conversation. The more important thing to take away, though, is even from the players, you don't think Jared Goff has had expectations like this in LA. They did. It was Super Bowl or bust. Dan Campbell with the New Orleans Saints, you don't think they had real expectations with Drew Brees? Of course they did. So it's not that Dan and Jared and these guys have no idea what it is or what it takes to have success. They do. So when you hear Dan say, listen, I don't want the hype to get to these guys' heads. I want to keep them, at least their mindset, correct and make sure they understand that there's still plenty of work that needs to be done. As much as people might not like that they say that, like, hey, embrace the hype. You guys are one of the better teams on paper in the NFC. We have expectations, big expectations for the Detroit Lions. I don't think it's good for any team to come out and act like they've been there, especially when you have one of the youngest rosters and you have a coach who's had success or knows what it takes to have success, and you have Jared Goff who's had these expectations in LA, and not to mention Dan was a part of that team that won 0-16. So he gets it, Lucas, to say the least.
The man knows. Dan Campbell knows, and most importantly, Jared Goff knows. Because I don't know if you guys caught any of the clips coming out of New York Jets training camp right now, but a lot of them, that, especially Garrett Wilson, he goes, I'm not going to beat around the bush. It's Super Bowl or bust this year. I know we can do it, etc., etc., etc. And I just think that sets you up for failure, because the minute the Jets lose 2 in a row, lose 3 in a row, lose even 1, those clips are going to come back compiling, and it's just going to add on to the weight that's going to be going against them, because I think the Jets are going to start off slow. But then when you look back at the Lions, they have a lot of guys that have not been in that position before, and the guys that have been, like you said, Jeff, they're handling it exactly how they should. I think that's the best way to approach it, and I have not seen that Goff clip before 2 seconds ago, and the fact that he brought up the Vikings and the Packers lets me know this man is completely aware of his situation, and he's not going to do anything to get in the way of where the Lions are going, just like usual.
Jack Harrington says the Jets are the most overhyped NFL team this year.
I mean, there's a lot
to
of
Sam Flannel, they're division winners in AFC Championship appearance this year.
I mean, has there been any evidence to the contrary? Yeah, we got to let this season play out. I understand why a lot of people would think that, but it's also, I mean, they got a lot of talent, and Aaron Rodgers coming to a very talented roster that was in the division race for a lot of the season with terrible quarterback play. I'm just saying, I mean, the New York Jets are just as likely as any team in the AFC to besides Kansas City, to make it to the AFC Championship game. We'll see.
Kyle Stark says, morning all, especially to my dude Sam Flannel. Shout out to Kyle Stark.
Hey.
Thank you for joining the show, my man. Chuck Brewer says, this year's Scott Frost, the Jets in the AFC Championship game.
No. Jesus. I will never live that one down. That was my worst prediction of all time. I'll admit it was terrible.
And I keep bringing up, too, I mean, if we want to go worst predictions, I mean, I called Ermanni Laurier the most underrated player on the Detroit Lions before last season. So I'm in the boat with you, Sam. We could take some L's. You talk every day for a living, you're bound to take some L's. Let's see. Galloping Lake says, and there is always an injury issue that could hit any starter that could affect the season. Decker going down. Both our running backs go out. Pascal and Kamitsky both get injured. And that, obviously, the injuries, it's not a matter of when, or if, it's when in the NFL. Like, guys are going to get hurt. That's just how it is. Guys are going to be banged up. My biggest concern, though, if you talk about anything derailing the season, is Frank Ragnow. Not that, it's tough because I don't want to say one player could derail everything, but we saw what they looked like without Frank, that 3-win season. Not saying it was all because of Frank, but it's tough not having a guy who's an all-pro, who's the third-ranked center according to executive scouts, players, and coaches. Like, that's a big loss. So yes, injuries are always a concern, but again, I think the Lions addressed the depth this offseason to some extent. They signed some tackles. They signed Glasgow as well. So who can play guard, center, tackle? So I think they'll be better with depth. Hopefully that doesn't derail the season. The only thing that would derail the season is Jared Goff going down. To me, that's it.
Well, yeah.
Anything else, it should be bearable to deal with.
I would agree with that. And because you also look at the Detroit Lions, they didn't really lose a whole lot of significance. You look at DJ Chark, you look at Evan Brown, you look at Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, who they quickly replaced with a better backfield. There's not a whole lot.
Yes, they did, Flannel.
Hey, I have acknowledged that from day one to now. When it comes to the backfield in totality, it is 100% an upgrade over last season's. We'll get into that more as the season goes along. But I think you mentioned something interesting, Jeff. Frank Ragnow, because at his best, Frank Ragnow is a future gold jacket center. He is the third best center in the NFL, but we're already kind of talking with that toe problem that he's never going to quite be what he was.
Yes.
It's not something that can be operated on, and that is a little bit concerning to already kind of resign yourself to the fact that we're going to get about 85% of Frank Ragnow at best, and that's still better than most centers, but it's never going to be his peak. But at the same time, it would take, and I'm knocking on wood, obviously Jared Goff going down would completely derail the season, but it would also take just some disastrous rash of injuries. They'd have to have the worst injury luck in all of the NFL for the Lions, I think, for it to affect them to the point where they don't win the division. It's crazy to say that, being the Detroit Lions, but I think I am perfectly valid in that statement.
Speak Easy. Shout out to Easy Man for joining the morning show. Love you, man. He says he was a Pro Bowler last year with the toe. That's facts.
Yes.
So, not saying it'll hinder his ability completely, but hopefully he's not in because now the Lions, we expect him to play a little more longer than they did last season. Not, you're expecting him to play into the playoffs, into the postseason, so hopefully Frank can hold up. A big reason, though, you talk about guys that departed. I mean, I don't think DJ Chark will be a problem, right, Lucas? Because you got Denzel Hims, apparently, to you coming in, playing alongside future Hall of Famer Sam Laporta.
That is very true.
So that's, if you think about it, Lucas, that on paper it might be the greatest offense of all time.
I don't get why people were clamoring over the loss of DJ Chark. Now, I'm not trying to say that this guy was a bum.
No, but he was not.
If people act like you just can't find another DJ Chark every 2 to 3 years, like DJ Charks, they're around the NFL, okay? We're gonna be completely fine. I don't even think Denzel Hims is gonna have the yardage that DJ Chark had. But collectively, as a whole, this wide receiver core is going to be just fine. I think this offense is going to be just fine.
Everything's going to be fine.
Yes, yeah, everything will be fine. I mean, and like to Lucas's point, I mean, your future Hall of Famer Sam Laporta.
That'll be in like year 3 when Hooker starts coming back. When we see Hall of Fame, we're gonna see Pro Bowl Laporta with Goff.
Okay,
Hall of Fame Laporta with Hooker.
All right, I'm with it. You know what else I'm with too, Sam, is getting a great haircut.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? Lady Jane's provides that. Can you tell us everybody about our friends over at Lady Jane's?
Of course I can tell them about Lady Jane's because I have to prop up where I get this incredible haircut. And since we're with the boys, I, you know, always feeling like I gotta be on my A game when I'm sitting next to Jeff Iafrate, when I got Jeremy Bryan, Alex Westfall, and Lucas Klotz in the room. And how would you like to win? Not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice. One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Ooh is right. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
The Sports Marketing Agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network, cruising into the second hour of the show. Thank you guys for sticking with us. Plenty of people tuning into today's show. Don't forget to hit the like button. We'll try to get to 100 likes before the end of this segment. And if you can't watch the show live, you can always go back and re-listen. Any podcast platform you listen to, Spotify, Apple, doesn't matter. Leave a 5-star review for the Morning Woodward Show. If you're on woodwardsports.com, don't forget to check out the latest articles, which there will be plenty now that Lions season is almost here. Updates on everything sports related, show clips, and merchandise, which you can get right now. And JB's rocking the Aiden Hutchinson Billie Jean shirt you can get on woodwardsports.com as well. There you have it. I want to continue the discussion of the just expectations for the Lions, the hype surrounding the Detroit Lions, and I have something to get off my chest, okay? So we talked a little bit about this last week when we brought up Ndamukong Suh, and my reasoning was he's not going to choose the Lions because they're not on the same tier yet as Philly, as the 49ers, as the Chiefs, as the Bills, these teams that you expect to play in championship games. The Lions, to me, favored to win their division. I think they can do that. They will be favored to win a playoff game, most likely at home. I think they can do that. But to have confidence beyond that, guys, I'm struggling. I really am. I don't know if the Lions can, because I get, and rightfully so, Lions fans should be excited. They should think of the Lions, and I say this, so I have to be consistent. If you're one of the better teams in the NFC or AFC, if you're a top 3, top 4 team, by default, you're a contender. But man, it's hard for me to even take my own advice, Sam Flannel. It's hard for me to call the Lions contenders yet. It just is. Because you can make, even a big part of their offense this season, and I know without them they were a top 5 unit in Jamison Williams. There's still question marks I have for 2 positions, really, wide receiver and interior defensive lineman. Am I crazy for just not going to the contender part of things yet, Sam Flannel?
I don't know.
Interesting.
Thank you, DC. I think he would agree with your humble approach, but at the same time, I do understand not wanting to say that they are like Super Bowl contenders like the 49ers or the Eagles, but here's where I will attempt to quell some of your fears when it comes to them at least hitting the expectations that we have for them in terms of winning the division and winning a playoff game. So you look at last year and how the Lions finished the season. You mentioned a couple of deficiencies that may come up this year at the interior defensive offensive line and wide receiver. But one of those deficiencies was completely, I would say, revamped in the offseason, and that is the secondary. And the Lions, despite having a bad secondary last year as a whole throughout the year, the Lions still managed to go on an 8-2 run to end the year while Jeff Okudah, Will Harris, Mike Hughes, and Ife Melifonwu had significant playing time. I would say that they upgraded massively with guys like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Emmanuel Mosley, Cam Sutton, Brian Branch, and the like. I would say that is very, very fair, that the secondary is going to go from a weakness to a strength. And also when it comes to the Lions and at least meeting their expectations of winning the division and winning a playoff game, I'm looking at their home schedule with the Detroit Lions. I know we've talked about it before. Their road schedule with the Lions has a lot of tough games, but that home schedule has 7-1, 8-0 written all over it. You got Seattle, Atlanta, Carolina, Las Vegas, Chicago, Green Bay, Minnesota, and I think I cover them all.
I like it.
I would say that they are going to be favored in every single one of those games. Definitely, I would say in 7 of 8 of those games. It's kind of questionable whether they'll be favored against the Seahawks, but I think that home field advantage will give them that bump. And if you want a team that's a little bit young, a little up and coming, that has a lot of talent and a lot of expectations but hasn't won anything yet, the best way for them to ease their way in is to have some winnable home games, and the Lions definitely do. So I think with the revamped secondary, the fact that they brought back so many players and their coaching staff, and a lot of the younger players like Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston and the likes, and even Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell will get another year of development. I don't think there's any reason that this team crashes and burns, except if there's some sort of injury problems. But I think that's the only way. I get what you're saying about, I don't know if I want to call them Super Bowl contenders yet, because neither do I.
Right.
But if you win the division and you win a playoff game, you're in the dance. You never know how it shapes out, man. Did I quell some fears?
No, you do, and you make a lot of sense. You made a lot of great points. I think the other part to look at this is even if you have success in the regular season, it doesn't always guarantee you'll get as far as you hope in the postseason. The biggest example of that, and I get context is completely different, and they're not at least molded the same way as the Lions, was the Minnesota Vikings last season. I mean, division winner, we won 13 games. They lost in the opener against the Giants. So. And I want to read this comment, and I want to hear from Lucas and JB on this, kind of help talk me off the ledge here. Corey Berry says, home playoff win is an expectation, but not necessarily the ceiling for this team. Lucas, what if I felt like it was the ceiling, a playoff win? Is that fair?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think the Detroit Lions have a higher ceiling than the New York Giants did last year? With Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley?
Yes.
Okay, so we can clear that point. This Lions team is, in my opinion, top 3 in the NFC. In my opinion, could very easily be top 2 with the Eagles and Niners, because I expect the Eagles, without their coordinators, to take a small step back. This team is 100% a contender. Look at the pieces we added. You go, our biggest weakness last year, without a doubt, was our secondary. We now turn that into a top 10 unit. Our next biggest weakness was the defensive line and linebackers. We arguably now turn that into, you can argue at a top 20, 15 unit based on how they play. The talent is there. You got Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston. Mm-hmm. That's a hell of a pass rushing duo. That's one of the best duos around the league, especially with their ceiling. I think Jack Campbell has an enormous ceiling. We talk about the size that they kept this year, bringing back Isaiah Buggs, John Kaminsky. Everyone knows the moves that were made around this roster. The only reason why we're not like, oh, they're contenders is because you haven't seen it out of the Detroit Lions.
Right.
But if the Philadelphia Eagles had this roster, the Dallas Cowboys, except everybody would think this team is a contender. So I'm not scared in any way, shape, or form, because the other part of it is I'm a Detroit Lions fan. This is the one time in my life where I can say I'm truly excited because I believe this team can win. And if I believe it after all these years, it's for a reason. If the national media is buying into it, it's for a reason. Because the Lions don't just get hyped. There has to be some context with it. And through the last half of the season last year, it showed you everything you needed to know.
And I put a poll in the chat, too. Is it fair that Jeff is more scared than stoked? 44% says yes, 55%. Now it's 45% say yes, 55% say no, be stoked. So it's actually closer than even I thought. And for me, I think you, Lucas, and Sam, and I'll get to JB in a second, you guys make great points. I think the bigger part to take away is if this was any other franchise, it would probably be more stoked than scared. I think the history of the Detroit Lions, we're expecting them to do something this year I've never seen them do. Two things: win a division and win a playoff game. And Paul Thomas hit it on the head. He said, last time we had a playoff win, I had hair and I was dating models. Yeah, Paul Thomas, see, I mean, this is the proof right here. Paul gets it.
Do you trust Brad Holmes, yes or no?
I do.
Do you trust Dan Campbell, yes or no?
I think we'll find out certain this year.
If you had to pick yes or no.
I would say at this point, yes.
Okay. Do you trust Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Jahmyr Gibb, David Montgomery, top 3 O-line, and Jared Goff thrown to him?
To get a playoff win? Absolutely.
At the bare minimum, a playoff win.
Yes, I would say that.
Okay, so they get one playoff win, and then they play if they play the Eagles or Niners. We saw them against the Eagles this year. Held in there, we got a hell of a lot better. You could say the Eagles are probably going to take a small step back. That doesn't make them bad. And then the Niners, even the year before when we went 3-13-1, they held in there against the Niners. So this team, I'm telling you, if everything goes right, is 100% a contender. I trust the roster, I trust the coaching, and I trust the management. All 3 of those get checks. Rarely do you have all 3 of those get checks around the NFL, and when they do, they usually pan out.
Mm-hmm. And to Booner's point, to kind of speak on that, because Booner agrees with you guys as well, and he says, that's crazy, Jeff. Me speaking on, I don't know if after a playoff win I could be one of those fans or one of those analysts that say, hey, the Lions are going to make the NFC Championship game or make a Super Bowl. I don't know if I can go that far, but Booner says, Jeff, that's crazy, Jeff. I love you, but that's crazy. Is it, though? Like, is it that crazy for me to be hesitant about the Lions making an NFC Championship game or a Super Bowl, JB? Like, where are you at with this whole thing? Because you have money placed on them having success.
Yeah, I mean, you already know where I'm going. But, Jeff, I completely understand. I know the years of Lions football previously has got some trauma attached to it a little bit. But this team is different. You have to believe in Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. And personally, in my opinion as well, too, just because they went out there, they've got the new addition to these players, and they just didn't go and just throw money at just players that had career stats a couple years ago to see what they can do for this team. They actually went out and found players that are humble and hungry, that want to play ball and want to prove all the teams that passed on them before that they are different, and they are different with the Detroit Lions, and this is their time. So, Jeff, I ask you again, do you believe in Dan Campbell?
Man, like, here's the problem. I think Dan is a good coach.
Put your nuts
Dan
on the table, Jeff.
But for me to say I 110% believe that a guy in Dan, who has never been a head coach for a team, that has legit expectations, and the ceiling I've seen for Dan so far, not saying it is his ceiling, but is 9 wins. To say I 100% believe that Dan could take this team to an NFC title game and a Super Bowl for me would be it'd be a little stretch for me. But to your point, at this point, I do believe in Dan Campbell. But we shall see Dan Campbell with big expectations for a franchise that hasn't had him in quite some time. Not saying Dan can't do it, but it's got to be fair for me to at least be skeptical, Sam, about Dan taking this team to an NFC title game. And not just Dan, Jared Goff is also part of that.
You know what? Skepticism is fair. A little bit of healthy skepticism is fair. But I'm going to read another thing that Booner said, which I 1,000% agree with. For you to say the ceiling is around 1 win is crazy. The ceiling should be higher in the NFC 1,000%. That is where you lost me a little bit, Jeff Iafrate, because you said their ceiling could possibly be a 1 playoff win. That would imply that they can't do it. I believe personally that it is going to be unlikely for the Lions to go into San Francisco or go into Philadelphia and knock them off.
That's where my hesitation is,
But you're
Sam.
saying ceiling. I mean, Lucas, you brought up a great point. Guess who else won a playoff game last year? Daniel Jones and the Giants. So by definition, I know it's kind of, we're getting into like wordplay, but the Lions ceiling is the exact same. I don't agree with that at all. I would say that it's more likely than not that they win 1 playoff game and don't win another. But ceiling is a very defined word,
okay,
I would say.
How about that? How about instead of saying the ceiling is a playoff win, I don't think, and I'll rephrase it, after they win a playoff game, after that, to me, it's just playing with house money. Like, I just need a playoff win, which sounds crazy. But to put my nuts on the table and say they can beat Philly or the 49ers, that's tough. Because, again, like, name me a weakness on either of those teams. Like, that's where we're at. 49ers, you could say quarterback, but we saw him be pretty damn good with Brock Purdy, who's Mr. Irrelevant. So the Lions, you could say, well, wide receiver's a question mark until we see what Jameson is, the interior defensive line position, who gets pressure from the interior. The 49ers and Eagles, there ain't really question marks at all. That's where I'm a little hesitant. Forgive me.
No,
but winning a playoff game, I think they could do that. The Giants did it. I think the Lions could do that.
And I think the one thing that we're also taking for granted here, there's a man at the OC spot that's going to want to show what he can do in the playoffs. And Ben Johnson, all your worries about Dan Campbell, I can get it. I 100% believe in Dan Campbell. But you put Ben Johnson, the future Kyle Shanahan of the NFL, on his right side, it's not going to fail. This team, the play calling is what held the team back in the first half of the season because there were majority close games. And if we would have called plays like a normal human being would have, like Ben Johnson will, the conversions, all the percentages, they would have went up and there would have been more wins. This team is going to be fine with Ben Johnson right by Dan Campbell.
And Booner chimed in. He says they'll have a chance to win every game after that. They'll be in the game versus the Eagles and 49ers. And I'm not saying they're going to get blown out or destroyed. My reasoning is I'm a little more hesitant to say, book it. They're going to beat the Eagles or the 49ers. That's where I'm a little hesitant. But I'm with you guys. I think a playoff win is reasonable. I've been arguing that. I don't think just a division I'll accept. Because you win your division and you lose a playoff game, I'll just call you Minnesota. Without the close games Minnesota had.
I mean, at that point, so basically what you're saying, and I think we would all agree with this, is it's not time yet for the Lions to be Super Bowl or bust.
That's where I'm hesitant.
Yes, and that is 100% fair. I think where you lost a few people was the word ceiling, but I don't think you actually meant that. I would say that more likely than not but then again, as we've all said before, I'm not saying it's likely. I think that the Eagles and the 49ers will be the 1 and 2 seed, whatever order, and that they'll win a playoff game. But if you're the Detroit Lions and you win a playoff game, you never quite know how the order will shape up. I mean, I would say that the Philadelphia Eagles last year were pretty damn happy that it fell to them, that they got to play the very, very overrated New York Giants and got a quick, easy path to the NFC Championship game. So you never know. It's not likely that the 49ers or Eagles will get upset, but it is possible.
It is possible. To everybody's point. And again, this is why I wanted to have this conversation, because I knew it would be a great conversation. And the other part of it for me is a lot of things have to go right, which can happen. I'm not saying it can't happen for the Giants, especially in the postseason until they face Philly. But for the Lions, I mean, you're going to go up against the 49ers and Eagles, who have a coaching advantage in the postseason. Those guys have more experience. Players that have more experience. The thing where I would argue is Jared Goff has been on this stage. He's taken a team, don't kill me, Sam, wasn't the reason they went to a Super Bowl, but was the quarterback of a team that made the Super Bowl. At least he has that experience. So to that point about Jared, I think he can do it. But for everybody else, there's a lot of question marks that need to be answered. And for me to put my nuts on the table and say, hey, NFC Championship game appearance this year, Super Bowl appearance, that's
they're
where
not big enough to do that yet.
That's where, I guess they don't have Randy Marsh balls where they're in a wheelbarrow for me to say it. But I will, hopefully if they. And I saw a question earlier, Jeff, if they beat Kansas City, will it sway you? Absolutely. If you go out week one and whoop Kansas City's ass or beat them in a close game, regardless, you beat them on the road on the season opener, it's Thursday Night Football, I believe. Yeah, it's going to make me more confident in this football team, no doubt about it. But I'll tell you what, we'll go to break. When we get back, I want to get into me and Sam's quarterbacks under pressure top 5 list. I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. You guys are going to love this as well. I've been waiting to do this. We suggested it last week, but I think today is a perfect day for it. But before we do that, Sam, could you tell everybody about our friends over at Swiss Insurance?
Absolutely. And now that summer's here, it is important to make sure you are properly covered, whether it's a grad party or just a group of people over to enjoy the lake or pool. Your liability exposure increases significantly in summertime. Let the Swiss Insurance Group review your coverage and make sure you are protected from an unexpected loss. Check us out at SwissINS.com or call Mark today at 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
How about that rookie? He is something else. How big is that?
Next on Woodward Sports, driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. It's a Detroit Lions theme show, which I know everybody loves a lot, but we're back. It's Monday, July 24th. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Alex Westfall, and Lucas Klotz joining you today. No Gabby, she's at Allen Park. But we have a lot to get into still. Another hour of the show. Don't forget, if you're tuning in live, hit the like button. Support the channel. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I know we got a lot more new viewers joining the show as well. If you can't watch live, it's all good. You can go re-listen to the podcast. Spotify, Apple, whatever platform you listen to. Leave a 5-star review. And don't forget, WoodwardSports.com, articles, all the sweet merchandise that continues to come out. Go check that out. But it is time now for our top 5 quarterbacks under pressure. And how we're going to do this is, this segment, I'm going to let Sam cook. They're going to do your top 5 list. We'll all react to his list, and then the people in the chat will get to some of their thoughts, and then we'll get to my list. But to start off, Sam, the floor is yours.
All right, so my list of the top 5 NFL quarterbacks under pressure going into the 2023 season. At number 1, I, of course, have to go with Deshaun Watson. I don't think that's super controversial. So the Cleveland Browns, after the 2021 season, basically they decided that they were going to dump that bum Baker Mayfield because Baker Mayfield couldn't take them as far as the Browns wanted to go. So they decided to go after Deshaun Watson, who obviously was a great quarterback at one time, but was facing an entire year suspension in 2021, and they would be without him for the first 11 games of 2022. And Deshaun Watson, more than that, signed a 5-year, $250 million contract, which is absolutely crazy. And how does Deshaun Watson reward the Browns? By having the worst season of his career, playing in those 6 games. He did not look like himself. He looked like he forgot how to play football. The offense legitimately looked better last year with Jacoby Brissett at the helm. I believe the Cleveland Browns have a Super Bowl roster. I believe if Deshaun Watson can get to 2020 Deshaun Watson, that they can challenge anybody in the AFC other than the Kansas City Chiefs. But if he implodes, if he has another year where it looks like he forgot how to play football, it might be one of the most disastrous signings in the history of the NFL, not just the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson is under a ton of pressure.
No doubt.
A very similar situation at number 2 with Russell Wilson, another team that...
Let's ride!
Absolutely. It seemed like a team that was just a quarterback away from contending. And what better quarterback to bring in than the future Hall of Famer for the Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson. They traded for Russell Wilson and gave him a 5-year, $245 million extension. And again, how does Russell Wilson reward the Denver Broncos with the worst season of his career by a mile? He looks terrible. The team goes 5-12. They absolutely implode. They fire Nathaniel Hackett. And now this year, Russell Wilson gets Sean Payton, an offensive guru coach. I think Russell Wilson will bounce back, but if he doesn't, if he has another poor season and the Broncos have a losing record, it will be just an absolute disaster of a signing. And oh, by the way, look at how his ex in Seattle is doing. They made the playoffs with Geno Smith. Ooh. And at number 3, we've got Dak Prescott, a guy that
Dakota Rain,
a guy that I am higher on than most people, but at the same time, here's the reality of the situation. I know you guys are going to like this. The Cowboys have not won anything with Dak Prescott. They've had a lot of talented rosters. They've had a lot of talented teams. Dak Prescott has had quite a few good regular seasons, but the last 2 seasons, whether Cowboy fans like it or not, have ended with them scoring less than 20 points and losing to the San Francisco 49ers both times. And Dak Prescott is coming off the worst season of his career, in which he led the whole NFL in interceptions despite only starting 12 games. The Cowboys have the talent to contend for the Super Bowl in the NFC.
They do.
They've got guys like Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Gilmore, Zach Martin, some of the single best players in the NFL at their respective positions, but one of the biggest question marks is Dak Prescott, and we'll see if he can take that leap, because if he does, the Cowboys can legitimately make the Super Bowl, but he could also implode and they could go 11-6 and lose in the first round.
That'll happen.
And I mean, history shows, you know what, history shows that it probably will. And at number 4, I have a guy that I am very, very high on, and that, of course, is Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert has had a historic start to his career. 94 touchdown passes in his first 3 seasons. Second most by a player in their first 3 seasons to Dan Marino. He had 98 in his first 3. But the reality is, when it comes to Justin Herbert, I don't believe it's his fault, but the team has not had really any success with Justin Herbert. In his 3 seasons, they've missed the playoff twice, and they come off of blowing that 27-0 lead to the Jacksonville Jaguars. If he really wants to become one of the elite, which I think we all believe he has the talent to do, the team just needs to start having success. I mean, you look at Joe Burrow in these past 3 seasons, 5 playoff wins and a Super Bowl appearance. You look at Josh Allen, playoff wins. You look at Trevor Lawrence, a playoff win in which he had that big comeback against Justin Herbert's Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah.
This is the year
Trevor Lawrence.
Hey, I love Trevor Lawrence too. He gets his OC in Kellen Moore. This is the year where Justin Herbert really needs to put it all together, have that dominant regular season, but this year the Chargers need to make the wild card and win a playoff game for him to really be considered the elite of the elite with the likes of Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. And then at number 5, I'm sure Lions fans really, really like this one. None other than our very own Jared Goff. And let me explain. So, how many of you in the audience were very, very happy that the Lions drafted Hendon Hooker? How many of you in the audience are very, very hesitant to want to give Jared Goff that $45 million a year or $50 million a year extension? I believe a lot of you are, and I am as well. Because the reality is, Jared Goff, he had the best season of his life last year. I think most people would agree with that. He led a top 5 offense, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, running that Ben Johnson system beautifully. But in order for Jared Goff, I think, to regain some favor, to regain the favor to the point where the Lions actually want to make him their long-term quarterback, Jared Goff needs to validate what he did last season. The Lions need to make the playoffs, and they need to at least have one playoff win, or at the very least, Jared Goff needs to play well in the playoffs, or else Hendon Hooker is there waiting in the wings. And I'll tell you what, as much as we love Jared Goff, as much as I love what he did last year, the 3 previous seasons were pretty damn mid, I would say. And we all know that Jared Goff at his peak is not really what you would call an elite quarterback. So for that reason, I believe he is under tremendous pressure this year, and that is why I have Jared Goff on my list. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
So my first question, and I'll start this off, for Justin Herbert, is it fair to say that the pressure cooker in LA for the Chargers, Brandon Staley, is under more pressure for the whole organization than Justin Herbert? Because you did make a point that in that playoff game, Trevor Lawrence came back on Justin Herbert, but I could argue he also came back on Brandon Staley's defense.
I would 100% agree with that, by the way, that it's not all Justin Herbert's fault, but Justin Herbert, as much as I love him, as much as I defend him, I think what the Chargers needed to do in that playoff game was, when Trevor Lawrence was absolutely vomiting all over himself and imploding, the Chargers needed to get up to like a 42-0 lead. And in the second half, they just, as much as the Chargers defense was giving up points to the Jaguars, the Chargers couldn't sustain any drives. That was one of the reasons why they couldn't run a 4-minute offense. Justin Herbert couldn't keep the team's offense on the field. I understand that Brandon Staley is under more pressure, but as much as I love Justin Herbert, all of the young great quarterbacks eventually have to have playoff success in order for them to be considered the elite of the elite. Justin Herbert is going to hit a crossroads at one point as to whether he's Detroit Lions Matthew Stafford or if he is an all-time great. Those are the questions that are going to be asked if the Chargers don't have any team success this year. I'm just saying.
You agree with that, Justin Herbert? Under more pressure? Even guys like Aaron Rodgers?
No, I was going to say, my reaction to this is, where the fuck is Aaron Rodgers? I mean, Flannel, I know he's your hero and you want to protect him at all costs, but that man is under, in my opinion, Aaron Rodgers is facing the most pressure of any NFL quarterback this season. Because, one, he's got probably the most talent around him of any new quarterback, and a new quarterback's going to be facing pressure. And this is, if it goes bad for him, this could be Aaron Rodgers' last year. So I think not only does Aaron Rodgers, respect around the league, I think at the current time is under pressure, but Aaron Rodgers' whole career right now is under pressure, because if this man flames out, they go 9-8, why would he come back to the Jets? He's not going to be around a more talented team than he is right now. So if he somehow flakes out, I think he's done. And I think Jordan Love has to be on this list too, because he's the man that's following Aaron Rodgers. And some people, we just saw it on ESPN during the fucking break, they're saying the Packers are going to win the NFC North. So if people think that, and then what I believe is going to happen, the Packers go 7-10. Well, they're moving off Jordan Love most likely.
See, the thing about Aaron Rodgers is I don't think they're going to flame out for the record, but if they do, Aaron Rodgers' legacy to me as a top 10 all-time quarterback is cemented.
No, for sure. But I'm just saying for where his value is in the modern-day NFL, where it's like, yeah, teams will want him, but it'll be that obvious, like, okay, Aaron Rodgers is not Aaron Rodgers anymore. We just basically sold our franchise for the whole cream of Packers players that once he leaves, I mean, what are Randall Cobb and Allen Lazard going to do for you?
Right.
You just got a new offensive coordinator for Aaron. Like, they committed a lot of resources. Robert Saleh, his whole coaching career right now is depending on Aaron Rodgers. New York as a whole is depending on Aaron Rodgers, and that's probably the toughest market in sports to be facing.
I mean, what if I told you, though, that Aaron Rodgers, if I had to make a list of top 10, he would be on there. He would probably be at 6 or 7. There is pressure on Aaron Rodgers, but he does have, I would say his career and his legacy is already cemented. I mean, did what Brett Favre did with the Jets hurt his legacy? I'd argue that it should have,
yes,
but it didn't.
Well, and the other question I have, and I don't know if we'll have enough time to go before break, is for Jared Goff. I can make a similar argument, not that his legacy is already cemented, but we kind of know what Jared Goff is. Like, even if he comes out this season and has a mid-year, I don't think it'll be this gigantic pressure cooker Jared's in. I think people will just accept, yeah, it's Jared Goff. He's not our quarterback of the future, and you move on. Doesn't mean Jared won't get another job. Someone will welcome Jared in with open arms.
But what if, and I know I'm having cold sweats just thinking about it, and everyone in this room, in this audience, has cold sweats just thinking about it. What if Jared Goff goes back to being mid? I'm not saying that it's going to happen, and the Lions actually fall short of their team expectations and don't make the playoffs. It would be
please, no.
Thank you, Michael Scott. It would be just a tremendous disappointment. And as much as I hate to say it, Jared Goff's previous 3 seasons prior to last year were pretty mid. That is why there is pressure on him to validate what he did last year, especially given the fact that they brought back his coordinator, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the like.
And by the way, we're going to go to break, and we'll get back and have this discussion. I'll show you my top 5 list. But before we do that, speaking of validation, you want validation with a good defense. And I got Guardian Alarm. They're always going to validate your home, make sure you're safe, because they got customized solutions from real experts. They got 24/7 professional monitoring, and they have elite technology backed by people. All you got to do is call 1-800-STAY-OUT today. Get your home protected. Again, call 1-800-STAY-OUT. Tell them your friends at Woodward Sports sent you. We'll see you after the break.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome. We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. And we just got done going through Sam's top 5 quarterback list. And now it's time for mine. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go. Put it up. My top 5 quarterbacks under the most pressure.
There he is. There's A-Rod.
And let me tell you something, okay? 1 and 2 are fair. Me and Sam agree. We have them in different order. I think Russell Wilson's under more pressure, and I'll tell you why. Him and Deshaun Watson both got contracts, big contracts. The difference is, though, and I made this argument with Justin Herbert, when you talk about the blame scale, like how much a percentage of the blame goes on who, when you look at Denver versus Cleveland, I can see Cleveland being more of a share with Kevin Stefanski. I think with Denver, no one's blaming Sean Payton. Nope. So if Russell Wilson shits the bed, it's on Russell Wilson. Period. End of story. His future will be determined. I think Deshaun Watson, even though I have confidence he'll return to form, if something happens with the Browns, it'll be Kevin Stefanski that's out the door, not Deshaun Watson. So that's how I factored in the quarterbacks under pressure. I think Russell's under more pressure because the spotlight's more on Russell than it is the coach. Deshaun, I think, shares it with Kevin Stefanski. But those 2 are the most under pressure. And number 3, you know what time it is. It's Aaron Rodgers. And I'll tell you why. His legacy is cemented. But is he the most talented quarterback the Jets have ever had?
Yes.
When's the last time the Jets have had Super Bowl expectations?
Probably early 2010s.
It's been a while.
Sanchez era.
It's been quite some time. I'm pretty sure Braylon was playing with the Jets when they had those expectations.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers is under a ton of pressure, and maybe not for his legacy, but maybe so. I mean, this is the guy who's continued to fall short in the postseason pretty much almost the last decade. You go to a roster now, which you could argue the most talented roster he's had in over a decade. You gotta live up to expectations. It's even worse, though, Sam, too. You share it with the Giants. You share the city with the Giants. There is a pressure cooker in New York with Aaron involved, and on top of that, people are always going to compare the Giants and the Jets. The Giants last year won a playoff game with Daniel Jones. They got blown out by the Eagles, but they exceeded expectations. Don't tell me Aaron Rodgers is going to get let off the leash in New York if they don't live up to AFC title aspirations, which you think they will get to.
Yes, I do.
I think if they don't, Aaron Rodgers will be the talk of town, because now New York Jets fans, they're all talking about deep playoff runs. They're all talking about what if we can beat the Kansas City Chiefs and make the Super Bowl. It isn't a playoff game and you're out of there anymore for Aaron. Like, you have to make a deep playoff run, or else he will be cooked alive by the media. And I think when Aaron Rodgers' career is over, you be saying it all the time. He's 2 seasons removed from an MVP season. He's got to show up. He's got to play well. And this is Aaron's season to lose for the Jets. So he's 3 for me. And it's funny. Jordan Love's 4.
Trash.
And I'll tell you why. What the hell is Jordan Love? Does he suck or not? And the Packers are going to figure this out. They gave him a 1-year extension. They have to figure that out this year. I know Jair Alexander and everybody is hyping him up. They're excited to see Jordan Love. But he's under a lot of pressure. He's been waiting in the wings for 3 years. It's time, Jordan Love. It's time to show the world if you're good or not. And that's why I think a lot of people are going to be paying attention to the Packers this season. Because after the Lions, those 3 teams in the NFC North, that's arguable. And I think if Jordan Love can be that guy, he can separate the Packers from the rest of the teams with the Vikings and the Bears, because I think the Packers still have the best roster besides the Lions. But the biggest question mark, is that quarterback. So Jordan Love is under a ton of pressure as well. And 5, this one isn't sexy, but I think he's under more pressure than, even though, like you said, Sam, if you have a top 5 list, you could add Tua, you could add Jared Goff, you could add Justin Fields. I think Mac Jones, out of all those guys, is under the most pressure because of Bailey Zapp. He started a game for against the Lions, and we all remember that. He cooked the Lions, and he played extremely well, and there's already reports that Bill Belichick is fond of Bailey Zapp. Now, the question for Mac Jones is, national championship winner, had a pretty good rookie season, had Matt Patricia as his OC last year. Can Mac Jones get back to his original form and continue to grow now with Bill O'Brien at OC? It's time to show up. You got Bill O'Brien. He should be able to get back to his original form, but if he doesn't, Bailey Zapp will be waiting to replace him. So that's why I think he's under pressure. A quarterback's under even more pressure when someone's behind you waiting. I think that's the bigger thing. Justin Fields, we already know he's dynamic. There's nobody behind Justin Fields who's a threat. Jared Goff, I think he's pretty much cemented himself as, Jared Goff's a middle-of-the-pack quarterback. He's not bad. He's also not great. He's kind of just good enough sometimes. I don't think Jared's under as much pressure. I think those 5 quarterbacks are the most under pressure in the NFL. But fellas, react to my list. Cookie, what do you got?
So Mac Jones is an interesting one because I want to scoff at that one on first listen, but then you explained something that I thought was very, very interesting. You look at Mac Jones' rookie year. I wasn't very high on it. I absolutely hated when people were like, oh, that's why Mac Jones is actually better than Trevor Lawrence. But the reality is Mac Jones did have a very fine rookie year, and the Patriots did go to the playoffs. But then in Mac Jones' second year, which is last year, he looked pretty damn bad, but that just happened to coincide with Matt Patricia being an offensive coordinator, Joe Judge being an offensive coach. And this year, the Patriots give Mac Jones Bill O'Brien, who at the very least is a very, very sound, I would say, offensive mind. So this year, we're going to find out whether Mac Jones is good or whether he just had one decent rookie year and is going to fall off. But yeah, you're right. Mac Jones is he's vanilla on toast is basically what Mac Jones is. Would you all agree with that? Just no flavor, no sexiness whatsoever.
He's just mid.
Yeah, I mean, he's
75 overall in Madden for his career.
That's basically what he is. And I don't expect him to do much, but he's got to look functional this year. I mean, Jordan Love, That's the thing. He is the great unknown. The Packers have had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks back-to-back, and now Jordan Love. I mean, the Packers, like we say, they have some talent. They got some pieces, especially in the backfield, on defense, and on the offensive line. But Jordan Love, what if he implodes? What if he does suck, and he is the reason why they fail? I think it's likely. So he's definitely under some pressure. I know, and I see you guys in the chat. I see everybody's there. I know Jeff's list got an 85, and mine has a 15%. And I know what it is, and that's okay. You guys just hate Aaron Rodgers. That's what. That's all it is.
I mean, we do, but to say that the man isn't under pressure this year is, especially top 5, is mind-boggling.
But is his
more pressure? He's under more, or Jared Goff is under more pressure than him? No way.
Okay,
no way.
Jared Goff is fighting for his professional life. I mean,
Even though he
had a damn good year last year with the Lions, they drafted Hendon Hooker in the offseason.
100%. But at the stage of the career, if Jared Goff goes out, Lions go 8-9, whatever, they're like, okay, we got Hendon Hooker. You don't think a team's gonna pick up? Like Jimmy Garoppolo's still in.
He'll have a job though, Sam. He'll be a starter.
Are you sure about that?
What? I'm looking at Arizona right now. If they move off Kyler, I'm just naming Tampa Bay. I would say...
You think Tampa would love Jared?
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's numerous teams around the NFL, especially after this year, that are going to want... That every team needs a Jared Goff if they're not in Super Bowl contention or have a rookie quarterback. Every team would love a Jared Goff. That's why Brad Holm was like, do I want Jared? Yeah, I want Jared. This man's played in the Super Bowl.
It's different because, to your point, you can make the argument guys are fighting for their professional careers. Maybe Jordan Love is. Like, we have to figure out what he is. But Jared Goff is pretty much cemented who he is. He's, at the best can be a top 10 quarterback. But on average, he's middle of the pack, which you could still win with. But, Sam, it's not like he's fighting to have a job in the NFL. I mean, it's not that bad.
No, I'm not saying that he's necessarily fighting to have a job in the NFL. It's just, as the Lions and us Lions fans, we all have sky-high expectations for the Lions, particularly this offense, which was top 5 last year. And on paper, I would say this is even an even better Lions offense than the year before. So if for some godforsaken reason, please tell me that this doesn't happen, what if Jared Goff actually is mid and the Lions are 8-9? It'll be Jared Goff couldn't even win with this team. He couldn't even validate last season with this team. I think if he has a poor year and he eventually doesn't get re-signed and they just let him play out his contract and he goes, I think he becomes Tennessee Titans Ryan Tannehill.
Oh my
yes,
God!
Because remember, Ryan Tannehill only got that job because Marcus Mariota was stunk so bad, and then Ryan Tannehill obviously took over. He was a better quarterback. Jared Goff, if he fails with this team, we forget what Jared Goff was the previous 3 years.
No, and to Sam's point, I think I found it, Lucas. I think this is where we separate.
Ryan Tannehill just set me up a wall.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that in a second. But this is where we differentiate, Sam. To your point, if Jared has a below average year, the Lions don't achieve the success we all expect them to, you're right. His future's in question. For the Lions, that's fair. He'll get a job. Like that part, you lose me when you say he's fighting to just get. No, he'll get a job, 100% guarantee. I'll bet everything on it. The question I have, though, is will it be with the Lions? That's fair. Pressure with the Lions, I agree with you.
Well, then he kind of becomes known as a journeyman who can start. He can also be your backup. He would basically become, to me, to me, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, but I'm going to make a qualifier. He would be a much better version of Tampa Bay Buccaneers Baker Mayfield. A better version. I hate Baker Mayfield more than life itself. I'm just saying a guy who goes to the Buccaneers, and he's going to start for them. Baker Mayfield is going to start for this team. Are you saying if Jared Goff implodes with this roster and this coordinator, come on?
But he's shown more statistically and ability-wise than Baker Mayfield.
I said much better version. I said a much better version.
Maybe just Baker threw me off. I think Baker.
You guys don't like me saying Baker, and I hate Baker.
Maybe like a Jimmy G or like a Kirk Cousins. You could have went anywhere else.
I was saying it'd be the exact same thing as Kirk Cousins, who went with the Redskins at the time.
Yes.
Now the Commanders, they won a playoff game. He's out. If that's it, pretty much, I mean, yeah, you won a playoff game, but what does that really count when you have that team?
But even Jared, he went to a Super Bowl, he's won multiple playoff games. Not saying he's a big reason, but he has more of a resume than Kirk Cousins.
And the thing is like all the things you were just saying about Jared Goff, say the same thing about Aaron Rodgers, and he's under more pressure because then his career is probably literally over because he's not going to want to play anymore, and people are going to say, if you couldn't win with that Packers team in the NFC North, and now you can't win with this Jets team, which is even more loaded, what could you really do outside of the era when you had Jordy Nelson, Donald Driver, Greg Jennings, when you had complete super teams around you? Again, I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers isn't good, but are you really just a regular season hero with 2 MVP trophies and you can't really get a ring unless you're fully supported?
Okay, Lucas, 4 MVPs for the record. That is
true.
Let me ask you a question, Sam, and I'll tell you why we differ. We don't agree with Aaron versus Jared. And I'll ask you this, okay? Jared Goff, Aaron Rodgers. Is Jared Goff viewed as a savior like Aaron is for the Jets?
No.
Is Detroit as rough at least in terms of pressure? Is it more intense than New York?
No.
Who has higher expectations?
I would say probably Aaron Rodgers and the Jets.
So those 3 things, all those questions just went to the Jets. Can you see why I have Aaron under more pressure?
No, I don't think it's a bad take or a dumb take or anything like that. It's just a difference in philosophies because for me, Aaron Rodgers, his legacy is already cemented as an all-time great quarterback. He's expected to basically save the Jets basically as an age 40 quarterback. Mm-hmm. I still think he has a lot left in the tank, but I think that'll be the narrative moving forward, that he's already had this great career. So no matter what happens, he is always going to be viewed as an all-time great quarterback. I think that will trump all else.
And at least where we differ is for you, Jared's in the top 5. For me, he's outside of the top 5. I think he'd be top 10. I think that's fair. Tua and some notable names, and if you would agree, Fields I would put in a top 10 list. Tua I'd put up there.
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones is a great one because no Saquon maybe.
Zoom calls going on because of that man right now.
Yeah.
The whole league's running back core just
wait a
ready to
minute.
leave.
What's up, Sam?
Sorry, Lucas. I got to respond to something that Lucian Bergman said because usually he's on my side, but Sam didn't watch games last year if he thinks Goff is equal to Baker. Bro, I never said that.
Baker was a tough name to bring up there.
No, and then, all you guys heard was Baker Mayfield, and then you guys just were like, oh my God, how could he say that? I'm saying that Baker Mayfield was a guy who played his way out of Cleveland, and rightfully so. He was a journeyman last year. He played his way out of Carolina. He was absolutely awful. What I'm saying is if Jared Goff manages to play his way out of this Detroit system and Detroit decides to go with Hendon Hooker, he will become that guy who kind of has to reclaim his career as either a starter or a high-end backup on a bad team, a la Baker Mayfield going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jared Goff is a million times better than Baker Mayfield. I hate Baker Mayfield. He's my least favorite professional athlete probably in the world. But still, it would be, to me, a similar type of situation. Just Jared Goff would be a much better version of that. Not a lot of teams are going to be clamoring for Jared Goff on his 3rd team. He might start for a team that's just starved for a quarterback, but even if a team wants to develop a young guy, I just think you guys would be overvaluing the market for a Jared Goff coming off of another implosion. That's all I'm saying.
What about an Alex Smith?
That's a little bit probably easier to stomach.
There we go. Okay, I can get down with that. I'm a big Alex Smith guy, and I've always thought that Alex Smith was a little bit more athletic, but I don't think any team would bring in Jared Goff, especially after this year, and expect him to be their backup.
You know what's easier to stomach than those comparisons?
What would that be, Jeff?
Inedible at Dispo.
Oh,
and I'll tell you
that
why.
Sounds fucking splendid.
We'll be
right
over
now.
there on Friday at Romeo at the Dispo location. You guys are going to want to stop by this Friday. It's going down. Brace yourselves. Join us and the Dispo family at the Romeo location on July 28th for all 4 shows. All 4 shows will be down there from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's going to be a long day. You're going to want to join, come through, support the network, support the company Dispo, who does great work. They have great products. Love those people over at Dispo.
Good-ass people.
Located at 100 Schaefer Drive, Romeo, Michigan. See you there this Friday, July 28th at Dispo Dispensary, your local cannabis plug.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
It's the Morning Woodward Show here on Woodward Sports Network. Thank you guys for sticking with us. To all the people tuning in live, don't forget, hit the like button. We'll try to get to 150 before this segment's over. If you're watching live and you can't sometimes, it's all good. You can go back and re-listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever podcast platform you listen to. And don't forget, woodwardsports.com for all latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise. But now, we have a segment that I wanted to bring up today, an interesting question, and it's just a fun question before we get to what's trending with Lucas, and Lucas, I'm sure, has some fire for us. Which player/rookie are you most excited to watch week 1 for the Lions? Who are you excited to debut? And for me, I'll say it, Jahmyr Gibbs. That's who I am most excited for because, again, you have a guy who's replacing DeAndre Swift. Even for you, Sam, when you had expectations for DeAndre, we never questioned his ability, but you questioned his health. And if Jahmyr can be healthy, there's no doubt in my mind he is going to be an offensive weapon. I can't wait. Yards after catch, lining him up at receiver, out of the backfield, his home run hitting ability. Running behind this offensive line with Ben Johnson scheming things up for Jahmyr Gibbs, it's going to be electric. I can't wait for Jahmyr Gibbs. He's a guy that I'm excited to watch week 1, especially against Kansas City on that stage for everybody to see. People who questioned the pick that Jahmyr was taken at, I think if he can solidify himself week 1 as an offensive weapon and you see him involved in the passing game, in the running game, and pass blocking, run, whatever it is, that'll be great for Lions fans. So for me, it's Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with Aiden Hutchinson to start out with when it comes to players that I'm most excited to watch. Because here's the thing. Last year, Aiden Hutchinson, his debut and the Lions start wasn't very good. Obviously, there were some questions about his over pursuing and all that good stuff and whether he was going to be that pick, but he obviously solidified that as the season went along. He had a damn good rookie year. But this year, going into Kansas City and then at home versus Seattle, those are some games in which Aiden Hutchinson can have a huge imprint. In my view, and I think everybody's view at this network, and probably anybody who knows football, is the only way that the Lions are going to have any chance of going into Arrowhead and defeating Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs is if they can get consistent pressure or even spotty pressure on Patrick Mahomes, get him on the ground a couple of times, sack him a couple of times, and Aiden Hutchinson is their best edge rusher. He is their best defensive player, and I think this year for the Lions to get off to a strong defensive start, to kind of put to bed all of the bad juju from last year, them having a poor defense overall, I think that will be absolutely huge. And furthermore, when we talk about the defense, when it comes to rookies, I'm very excited to watch Jack Campbell. I want to see if he comes in on week 1 and is that leader, that starting linebacker. That guy that flies around to the football and racks up the tackles, is very, very good in run support, and even might have to cover a tight end, or at least help cover a tight end or two as the games go along. Although I hope to God it's not Travis Kelce, because we all love Jack Campbell, but he would get abused. But anywho, Jack Campbell has to be huge. He has to start from day 1 in order to validate the Lions picking him at number 18 overall, which a lot of people, myself included at the time, thought was a reach. The defense, a lot of how the defense plays this year will depend on those two guys, Aiden Hutchinson and Jack Campbell. And I cannot wait to see how they start the season, how they play throughout the season, but especially how they look at Arrowhead week 1, game 1 of the NFL season.
What about you, Lucas?
Is this any question? We're going to see 2 Hall of Fame tight ends on the field.
Here we go.
Week 1. I cannot wait to watch Laporta.
100 yards from Laporta?
No, I think he's going to have like 50, 60 yards, but I think this man is going to make an imprint. We talk about third down conversions, how huge they are in football. I think Sam Laporta, along with Amon-Ra St. Brown, is going to eat on third down. I think he's going to have a huge imprint on this game, and I think he is going to be a matchup nightmare, especially when Jameson Williams comes back. I know it's not against the Chiefs, but fuck it. I think this guy, when you have Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of those guys is going to be in the slot. So you're going to have a linebacker on Sam Laporta. And I think the Chiefs, their linebacker plays spotty. Chris Jones isn't showing up to camp right now, so Goff's going to have more time. I think Laporta, 50, 60 yards and a tutty, help with to a 27-24 Lions win. Ooh. Week 1 at Arrowhead is going to be fun to watch, fellas.
I love this comment. Jake says, what if, and I'm saying if, Campbell handles Kelce?
That's not happening.
That would be fun.
If they line Jack Campbell up on Travis Kelce, I'm going to be praying to the heavens. I mean, we just signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who covered Travis Kelce in the Super Bowl.
Right.
If we put a rookie linebacker in his first week ever starting in the NFL, I'm going to be terrified, and I'm going to be questioning everything that the Lions are doing. You get C.J. Gardner-Johnson for games when there is a Travis Kelce. There should be not one snap where Jack Campbell covers Travis Kelce. Not one.
What about you, JB? Who are you excited to see, man, out of all the rookies? Or you can bring up a player, either one.
Actually, I have both. So, of course, of the rookies, I will be remiss if I didn't say Hendon Hooker. That's my guy. But you'll get the king when he's ready to be out there. Let's just say
Dude,
that.
JB's driving that Hendon Hooker hype train, man.
Hendon Hooker is my guy. But other than that, I got to give a shout out to Brian Branch. I know he's not starting on this defense, but you can't tell me right now he's not in camp working his ass off, trying to play a part in some way in this rotation for AG right now. I don't know where they're going to put him, but somehow, some way, he will get some playing time on this field. As far as a player, I got to go with Lucas's boy, Denzel Hims. I need to see if he can bounce back with the Lions and be a nice little complimentary piece to Amon-Ra St. Brown with the weeks that J-Mo is out. I think it could happen, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. So give me Denzel Hims and my boy Brian Branch as well.
I mean, not to be pessimistic, but if you're Denzel Mims, don't you have to at one time bounce forward in order to bounce back? I'm just saying, he had a promising rookie year.
Ben
but
Johnson's going to bring it out of him, Flannel. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
I actually agree that it could be a positive sighting. It's
just like
that,
Trinity Benson, my boy.
Just like Trinity.
No.
What?
Or Tom Kennedy.
What is your obsession with Trinity Benson, Jeff? The first day we came in after Denzel Mims got traded, he goes, "It's the next Trinity Benson right there."
No, like I was being sarcastic because Trinity Benson, I was like, ooh, he played well in the preseason, and he was nothing, and he still isn't anything. So
yeah, I don't even know where dude's at this point.
I think he's still on the practice squad. He's still with the Lions, but yeah, you haven't really seen much of him at all. I want to read some of these comments. People are chiming in here. Lucian says Montgomery behind our offensive line. Tiger Town says Jack Campbell better be a stud. Soft Jones says I got drunk and put a G on the Lions Super Bowl. I mean, that could either be one of the greatest decisions. Or it could be a big mistake. Either way, why not, Soft Jones? You're all in, my man, so I appreciate that.
He's not scared, Jeff.
No, he's not. He's got Randy Marsh balls, man. Yeah. He's got him in a wheelbarrow. So yes, there you have it. Stoke not scared.
Stoke not scared.
Jesse says, I'm going to say two guys. It would be Tracy Walker and Josh Pascal. Those two are going to be sneaky good heroes for this team. Rookies, I can't wait to see Brian Branch. Brian Branch, I'm excited, man. He was, to me, the best safety of the draft. Me and Adam had him as a first-round pick easily.
As he should have
and
been.
He fell to the third round. It's ridiculous. So Brian Branch is another one of those guys to look forward to. We'll go to break. When we get back, we'll get into what's trending with Lucas. He'll break it down for us. Can't wait for that. You guys are going to want to stick around. He's got some fire stuff planned for today. He does.
Always.
He's cooking.
Always got some
But
heat.
before we do that, JB, can you tell everybody about our friends over at Big Boy?
Oh, definitely. I got you, because Strawberry Fest is back at Big Boy. Try the classic breakfast items like the strawberry hotcakes, the mouth-watering red velvet waffles, or if you're not feeling breakfast, try the strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with a refreshing summer splash salad. But don't leave Big Boy without getting some dessert, because they got the very delicious classic strawberry pie, the deep-fried vanilla Oreos, and of course the strawberry hot fudge cakes, and more at your local Big Boy.
Big Boy!
They do a read.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
How would you like to win $100,000 in a Vegas trip from Cintron? I'll tell you what, take your closest friends and live it up in the city that never sleeps. It's the Cintron Energy. Drink it and live it. Purchase a 24-pack today, and you're already entered to win the $100K Vegas giveaway at drinkcintron.com/Vegas and buy Cintron at your local Meijer store. Cintron, the healthier energy drink with great taste and the choice of people who desire to look good, feel good, and be the best versions of themselves. Again, that's drinkcintron.com/Vegas. It's time. We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. And it's time. It's that segment. And if you could do Lucas a favor, hit that like button, support the segment. But Lucas, what do you got for us? What's trending?
Smash
with
the like
Lucas?
button, baby. How much? We got 722 in here. It's been a good show today, boys. What do we
Great
think?
show.
It's been a great show. But Colin Cowherd recently came out, and we all have our feelings about Justin Fields. And this is what he had to say about Justin Fields. It's usually video, but I'm just going to do the graphic for shits and giggles. It says, Justin Fields, he's a bust. He's 5-20. He is a YouTube quarterback.
He's a YouTube quarterback.
God, that's offensive.
I mean, like, saying that he's fun to watch highlights of, I guess, you know.
But yeah.
fair, but also, damn.
Is it fair to call Justin Fields a bust already? I want to go around the room with everybody.
No, I would not call him a bust yet. I think he's shown enough so far, but he's got to have a better year, no doubt about it.
Well, that's the thing. I think in this room we are higher on Justin Fields than the majority of people in the chat, and probably the majority of people who listen to us. But the reality is, Justin Fields showed some promise last year, some big playability, especially rushing for over 1,100 yards. But this season they traded for DJ Moore. They got Nate Davis they signed Nate Davis, the guard. They drafted an O-line with their first round pick. So this is the year where Justin Fields really has to put up, actually show that he can be a good NFL quarterback, or the excuses are over. So I think this year is absolutely huge for Justin Fields and his history and his legacy with the Bears, and just how his perception amongst national NFL media.
Yep. Put up or shut up for Justin Fields.
Yep, 100%.
JB, what do you think about Fields this year? Or do you think he's a bust, and what do you expect?
I don't think he's a bust, but I kind of agree with Flannel. This is a put up or shut up year for him right now. The Bears are doing everything they can to kind of help that offense and help him in the offense as well too. So he's not sitting there running for over 100+ yards every single game, running for his life. So it's a put up or shut up year. He's not a bust or this YouTube quarterback that you're saying right now, but yeah, he's got to show something else in this year. Otherwise, yeah, those bust comments are going to start popping up a lot more. And I'm big on the Bears too right now. So,
YouTube quarterback. That's just
it's just foul to say.
Yeah, that's.
But in other directions, we know. I think we can all confidently say at this point, Trevor Lawrence is not a bust. Correct? No. He's proven himself.
No, yeah, well, he's not a bust.
There was some footage of his receiver, Calvin Ridley, this year doing some route running, and oh my, just filthy.
Jesus Christ. Woo, way to slow it up.
Yo,
this man is about to go crazy in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, he's going to be great, but can I get the guy recording to hype me up
play
too?
One more time.
Like my man,
Jesus.
My man's Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
The man just floating on water.
Yeah, when healthy, he's one of the better route runners in the entire
way to
NFL.
slow it up.
Yeah, 100%. And so my question to you guys is, personally, Calvin Ridley's like my fantasy sweetheart this year. I think he's going to be easily top 10 receiver, possibly even top 5 in fantasy football. So I want to go around the room. What is, as of right now, your way too early sleeper in fantasy football, fellas?
Man, Calvin Ridley, I think, is one of the better ones. No doubt about it. I think another one, fantasy sleeper. That's a good question. This year...
And drop in the chat, too. Drop all your guys' fantasy sleepers.
I see Sky Moore is an interesting one as well for the Chiefs. I don't know. I think my number one, I would agree with you. I think Calvin Ridley. If you talk about guys that haven't really been... he was suspended, but haven't really been in the discussion that I think we'll get back in that discussion for a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. It's Calvin Ridley. I think he's easy one. Another sleeper, I guess. Yeah, it's tough. That's tough.
That is tough. That's why I kind of had to think of one on the fly. I'm actually going to go with Khalil Herbert on this one. I think he has over 1,000 yards rushing. He finally is their true number one back. I know they signed Deontay Foreman, but I don't think he's as good as David Montgomery was there. I think he'll get more touches, and I think he will also be the benefactor of Justin Fields having a better season. And I don't think Justin Fields is going to run the ball as much. I think Khalil Herbert will take a lot of those carries, and they just have a couple new offensive linemen. Give me Khalil Herbert breakout season incoming.
Yeah, people are saying Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't know if he's he's
supposed to be gone in the first 2 rounds, maybe 3 in most
You're talking
drafts.
guys that will go late in the fantasy draft that you expect to play really well, which that's a great question. I think you look at receivers, at least for the Giants as well. I know no Saquon if he doesn't play week 1. Besides Darren Waller, it's feeding season. Whoever arises from the crop, Sterling Shepard, those guys. But I don't know. Sleeper, that's an interesting one. I think Calvin Ridley's up there, though, easily.
JB, you got any picks?
I kind of want to say Jordan Addison. Like, I don't know what's going on with the
140-mile-an-hour man.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the speeding ticket that he's doing right now, but I definitely think he'll help the Vikings a little bit now because I feel like people have seen enough tape on Jeddah. As right now, they're going to start doubling him a lot more. So this could be your open receiver for Kirk Cousins, and I think he might eat up a bunch of yards. So I'll take Jordan Addison on that one.
I like that pick, JB. And speaking of JB, he sent me this over the weekend, and I mean, we just talked about Trinity Benson being on the practice squad. The work that this man puts in running away from the cops right here, I would like to see him on Detroit's practice squad, possibly.
Oh, shit! Oh, too many other ways. All right, guys, I mean, this just can't happen, right? I mean, it's 10-on-1, like a Northwestern locker room. All right, we still can't get this guy on the ground, right? Because we got a unit full of Nick Cannons, all right? Nobody want to wrap up. All right, take a look at Connor. Oh my God, I'm the end man on the line of duty. This should be a piece of cake. All I got to do is watch for the cutback or the reverse, basic defensive rules. All right, but I'm just not really an athlete, so I piss down my leg and leave the whole backside exposed like Keke Palmer. All right, now who's this? Right, Jacobs. I mean, that looks like fear to me, right? You can't coach that. All right, not gonna waste my time. All right, and then we got Davis, right? Oh my God, I never wanted to join the force. I just wanted to be like Rick Ross. This man's so fast. He like the Black Rock League. Gus Johnson was right. These guys really do have run away from the cop speed. So I piss down my leg and just give up like 50 Cent on his son. All right, hey guys, at some point, we gotta start showing some pride. Like Lil Nas X? Not to that extent necessarily, Charles. Man, this is why I say we just shoot him. All right, Davis, get out. All right, you're fired. For this afternoon, come back tomorrow. Oh, Come to see me, Coach. What happened, son? I don't know. I'm just making the wrong decisions. Damn right you're making the wrong decisions. Why don't you just take the sideline? All you had to do was cut back. Come on, son.
What? What in the hell was that?
I just saw that video and it had me laughing so hard.
That was amazing.
That man said a bunch of Nick Cannons. None of them can wrap up. Now that's facts.
I just thought that was funny, but something that we could seriously talk about, especially with Flannel. I always talk about time and time again. Context always matters over stats. And I don't know if you guys follow me on Twitter or not, but I put out this tweet and it compares these two men right here.
Okay.
Josh Allen and Kirk Cousins. This has been going all over around Twitter. And if you look statistically, Kirk Cousins smacks this man in most things. So what do you have to say, Flannel? Because this isn't really a shot. But when you see people put out graphics like this, no, because I think Flannel obviously knows Josh Allen is a better quarterback. But there are tons of people who be like, see, this is why Kirk Cousins is a top 5 quarterback. Jeff, Flannel, JB, what do you have to say to all this noise around the statistics comparing Josh Allen and Kirk Cousins?
Sam, you take it away.
So, no, this is actually very, very misleading. I think it shows two things. I think it shows that Kirk Cousins, at least as a regular season quarterback, is better than people think, because the man does put up numbers, even if it doesn't always equate to team success. He's a better quarterback than I think people give him credit for. But when you look at comparing Kirk Cousins' last 5 years to Josh Allen's, it's completely unfair because it's including Josh Allen's rookie season, which, if we're being honest, was bad. Yeah. But, you know, like you obviously get a chance to rebound in your other years, a la Trevor Lawrence, and Josh Allen obviously did that. The next year he was better and led the Bills to the playoffs. But then once he got Stephon Diggs, he's had 35 or more touchdown passes the last 3 seasons, and all 3 of them. So I think this is a very, very misleading graphic, and if you wanted to do an actual graphic, you would compare their last 3 seasons. And for the record, the Josh Allen slander needs to stop. This idea that he's anything other than an elite quarterback, a top 3 quarterback, is insane to me. This is disrespectful to Josh Allen, honestly.
And Easy chime in, and he says it's the same people that say Goff is better than Josh Allen. Who? Is there?
No, there are.
No.
Because
is that a real thing?
No, there really are. Because, look, I do the socials. Me and Ryan be cooking up graphics all the time, and we make graphics like this, okay? And there's a lot of stats, especially just in this year alone, where Josh Allen statistically is not as good as Jared Goff. But is that the case? No. Look,
that's
I'm
ridiculous.
a big Jared Goff fan. I love that Jared Goff is a quarterback. But there's levels to it.
There comes a point where you got to use your eyeballs. Like that also plays a fact into this.
The best saying in the world is you don't need numbers to tell me that my eyes are wrong. And I think that should be, when you're making an argument about a player, go off the eye test and then base the numbers off the 2 eye tests afterwards. Don't judge numbers then eye test.
Because I'll fight that battle. I'll argue Jared could make a top 10 list, especially after last season, or I could say he's the second best quarterback in the NFC at this point, coming off of last year. I can argue those things, but to argue Josh Allen is worse than Jared Goff.
Wild.
Like what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know. JB, your thoughts?
What are we doing here?
I mean, on paper, yes, Kirk Cousins does seem to be the better quarterback, and I agree with Flannel. We're probably not giving him as much credit as he deserves, but on the other hand, Kirk Cousins is kind of boring as well at the same time, too. So, no disrespect there, but it's just, hey, you prefer Josh Allen for the passing and running abilities that he has rather than Kirk Cousins just sits there in the pocket and makes things happen.
I mean, yeah, you got one quarterback who went toe-to-toe with Mahomes in an AFC title game, and then you have Kirk who chokes on Sunday Night Football against the Eagles. Like,
only good at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock Kirk. That's how it works.
And if you want even further context, what was Kirk Cousins doing in his first couple of years, being RG3's backup?
Being the towel boy.
Basically, and you're including Josh Allen from the second he stepped into the NFL as a very, very raw prospect. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he was able to bounce back from such a bad rookie season means that was the anomaly. Just like I think Trevor Lawrence's bad rookie season with Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer was an anomaly as well. You have the right to grow, but that should just be thrown out. That rookie season should just be thrown in the trash. It should not be included as part of a graphic comparing him to Kirk Cousins. That's absurd.
Well, I'm glad we can all agree there, and that was what's trending with Lucas. So we'll send it back to you guys now.
Good stuff, Lucas. We'll get to mailbag now. Get your questions ready. We'll go to break. But before we do that, Sam, can you tell everybody at home about our friends over at Planet Fitness?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Get the guns out, baby.
You know me. I'm getting the workouts in whenever I can because I got to look, especially with football season coming up. Sign me to the practice squad. But how I'm going to get there is obviously with Planet Fitness. And Planet Fitness is home of the judgment-free zone where anyone, and we mean anyone, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. We are here to help you build a lasting, active lifestyle. At Planet Fitness, you will experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full body workout in just 30 minutes. In the 30-minute circuit, and all memberships include fitness training. You get all of this for only $10 a month.
Only $10?
Only $10, JB. Yes, we are still only $10 a month. Your fitness is essential, and fitness is a key part of physical and mental wellness, which is why we have invited teens between the ages of 14 and 19 to work out for free all summer long with our high school summer pass program that is free, $0. For more information or to join today, visit your local Planet Fitness or planetfitness.com. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. It's Planet Fitness.
What is it?
Where your fitness is essential.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
We're back, and I actually have to tell you about our friends over at Outdoor Equipment very quickly before we get to mailbag. And yeah, we'll get to it. And I'll tell you what, guys, real quick, your childhood may be over, but certainly playtime is not. I'll tell you about it. Outdoor Equipment Company is your source for outdoor power equipment, sales, service, and parts, carrying top brands such as Bad Boy, LS Tractor, Stihl, and much more. They service the Great Lakes region with locations in Metro Detroit and Greater Lansing. For more information, visit them at OutdoorEquipCo.com. Outdoor Equip Co., your power equipment playground. All right, now we're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. To everybody joining in, we appreciate you. Don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. And it's time for mailbag. Let's get to some questions. We'll start it off with the first one. Punch God says, who wins in a street fight, Flannel Sam or Lucas? You see his guns?
Yeah, dude. Flannel. Okay, Flannel. I'm gonna give you credit, man. Under that flannel, you got some guns under there, more than I'd expect. I'm not fighting Flannel, okay?
No.
Look, Flannel.
Yeah.
Me and you, we get into it sometimes. Let's set the record straight. Me and Flannel are boys, all right?
We are absolutely
I'm not
boys.
scrapping with Flannel. That's my boy right there.
We scrap for Flannel.
Yes.
Yeah, we scrap for Flannel. All the people in there that are always just throwing that man in the dirt in the YouTube comments, just know this man knows ball. He's a good ass dude. I'm never fighting Flannel.
I appreciate that, Lucas.
I'm
never.
You're
fight.
the man, Flannel.
You're the man, Lucas.
All right, just kiss already. Jesus Christ. All right, let's get to Jake's question. Mailbag question: is the Lions' season over if Goff is out for the season? Yes, that's a yes. C. I can say it as many languages as I can. Yes, the season is completely over. I know people say, "Well, Nick Foles," dude, like it's over. Like I'm sorry, unless again, maybe Nate Sudfeld goes out and just absolutely.
If Nate Sudfeld has Sam Laporte, anything's possible.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Hey, they ain't ready for Sudfeld. I'll tell you that.
Don't give him one.
Sudfeld goes out there. He's going to let him know. No, it is over in all seriousness. Someone says TK85 is quarterback. Real Queen Wheat says, hey.
Flannel, can you get with that?
Don't sleep.
I cannot.
Don't sleep on TK85.
I will sleep.
He goes, I will continue to sleep.
Sleeping very well. He's getting a full 8 hours.
Yeah, right. Detroit Supremacy says, Mailbag Sam, how many tears will you shed when the Lions win on Thursday Night Football against your Chiefs?
I will shed tears of joy because I'm rooting for the Lions to win. Imagine the show that following Friday if the Lions actually win that game. Oh my God, you guys are not going to be ready for us.
I'm going to be drunk on here Monday or Friday morning. By the
way, I just want to say this: Lions after Sunday, after Thursday, whenever they play, you're going to want to be here. Like it is going to be a blast. I'm telling you what, I'm not going to say what we have planned, but it's going to be lit. Either victory Monday or breaking down a tough loss. Either way, I'm telling you, the Morning Woodward Show, we got it going down. It'll be a lot of fun. I can't wait. I cannot wait for a possible victory Monday against the Kansas City Chiefs.
We'll do like tequila on primetime games. I'll come in and do some tequila at 8:30 in the morning. See how that does. Regular wins, we'll do some beers.
You never know.
Sounds good.
Let's see. Coach Walk 37 Mailbag. I just want to say that the growth of this group. Jeff, you become a great host. Though I don't agree always with Sam's takes, I respect you. And Lucas is the GOAT. Can't wait till you get your own show. Appreciate you, Coach Walk 37.
Thank you.
He's been with the show for a long time, so he's always showing love. Yep, shout out JB. JB's the heart and soul of the show, by the way. I don't think you guys understand like how important JB is.
Guys.
Like if JB's not here, like it's like that SpongeBob.
We are fucked.
Yeah, like it's like that scene from SpongeBob where he's running around in his head, like everything's on fire. That's what happens when JB's not here. There's no doubt about it. Let's see. Victory Friday for the Chiefs. Zach says, well, yeah, maybe. Regardless, though, it's going to be a great show, whether they lose or win. It's just going to be great just to talk about it. Jay Hart says, Mailbag, after J-Mo's suspension, how long does it take for the league to recognize the Lions have a top 10 wide receiver duo in J-Mo and St. Brown?
That's a great question.
I've
been wondering that for a while.
Is a great question. And I will say this, on paper, I'm with you, Jay Hart. I think the potential of J-Mo and what he can be, him and Amon-Ra, when they're both at their peak, it's a top 10 duo.
Top 3. If you think about duos.
You could make an argument it's higher, but what does he have to show? He's got to show he's electric. He's got to show he's dynamic. He's got to show, not just him, but Jared has to show that he can get him the football. Ben has to show that he could scheme up to get J-Mo the football. And I think once the football's in his hands, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just put the pigskin in his hands. He'll take care of the rest. No doubt. Trevor asked, last question before we leave, finished with the show here. Trevor asked, Aaron Rodgers has nothing to lose. He's old. He's had his career, and he's fighting to be under. And what's he fighting for to be under immense pressure? Well, he plays in New York. You have Super Bowl expectations, or at least AFC title game, playoff run aspirations, and he's the most talented quarterback they've ever seen. So I get the legacy part, but you can't deny, like, New York is excited. Jets fans are excited for Aaron Rodgers. He's got to live up to that potential. I don't think he'll beat the Chiefs, and I think it'd be unfair to expect them to beat the Chiefs. But Sam, if they don't even win a playoff game, yeah, I mean it's going to be ugly for Aaron Rodgers.
You done messed up, Aaron.
I don't know about ugly, but it'll be disappointing. I expect them to go to the AFC.
They're going to vaporize him in the media.
My goodness, you guys, Aaron Rodgers, for all the accomplishments he's had, winning a Super Bowl, all the MVPs.
You don't think New York would cook him if they don't win a playoff game?
You guys think he's that mentally fragile that the New York media will just crumble him to pieces?
Not crumble him, but they'll cook him.
I mean, they'll put more heat on him than the Green Bay media did because the Green Bay media just gave him wet kisses every day. I mean, that's just facts. those are just facts.
Hey, yo. Maybe Aaron liked
Tom
it.
Brady son treatment.
That's actually a good point.
Hey, JP with the... Oh, God. All right. Well, we'll end the show there. Perfect note to end the show. Thank you guys, all of you, for joining the show, tuning in with us. Because, again, it's always a blast. I love everybody. I love all the audience. Love the crew we have, per usual. I'm super blessed, to say the least. And, again, if you guys haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, and don't forget, you can re-listen to the podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anything you listen to, any platform you get your podcasts. And if you're watching on the website, please go check out latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise. We got talented writers, Detroit Kool-Aid, Matt Broder, Terry Foster chimes in as well. Go check out those guys. Michael Gentry writing for the Wings. I mean, it's everything you can imagine and more. Go check that out. But until tomorrow, when we have another great show planned for you guys, we thank you. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be with us here on the Morning Woodward Show. Until tomorrow, we'll see you guys.
Peace.